All right. All right, enough of that. What's up? What's up?
Oh.
What's up?
I'm in a new spot.
What's that?
Said I'm in a new spot. I was going like that.
Oh, yeah, the camera
That's
moved.
wrong.
We're working hard to get Jen's lighting set up and everything working better. I think we got it. I think we got it a lot better. Do you believe? What is happening, everybody? Like we discussed yesterday at the end of the stream, I'm gonna take a whack at Borka here. Do some leather. Orc Pride, what's happening? Do some leather. We'll just play around with this. Just play around with this guy for a while. Got a lot we can work on. Do some of the bronzy, coppery, goldy stuffs. Come up with some cool color combo for the stuff around here. I don't want to make it too gold because of his skin color, but we can do it. We can make it work. We can do this. That's centered right there. There we go. No plan what's going on. What's up? What is happening? We're going to work on Borka. I did some fire engine red on his gums so I can show some of the transparent purple and blues on the gums. And we got asked yesterday to do some looky-see at using the transparent brown to do leather. We've been doing a lot of it, and we're going to use some of the time during today's show to do the same. So I'm going to start off doing the leather strap across his front, and then his, tunic, vest, whatever flaps of leather there that stick out from underneath all the fur collar. And then we'll go back and play around with some other stuff on him. Good to be good. I'm going to start off with some dark umber. We based everything on this long time ago in black brown. So our Pro Curl black brown is the base color that you see here. Now we're going to go to some dark umber. Your tracking number says you get your paints tomorrow. Super excited. Yay! Oh, Drac, the King of War was yours. Internet bad. Awesome. It was looking really good. I really like that skin, man. That was what I kept saying if you didn't get a chance to hear. Really like the human skin tone. I was curious whether or not you were going to stick with it or change it.
Russ, it's evening. I don't know what you're talking about. But good evening, Russ.
Morning? It's not even morning where you are. It's still the middle of the night. It's still the middle of the night. It's not morning just because it's after midnight. What?
What?
Kenny? What is going on? Hello, Pipples.
If it's still dark out, I think it's night.
Hello, Pipples.
Well, I guess unless you live in Alaska where it's dark all the time.
Who's that?
No Plan Painting.
No Plan with a resub. Thank you.
Twitch Prime.
Twitch Prime. Have I told you about Twitch Prime?
I know about Twitch Prime. And oh wait, maybe the first one was Core Mechanical.
Core Mechanical. Let's go.
Sorry.
This is No Plan. Jen's looking at the chat. Kenny, what's happening, my man? What is going on? Hello, everybody. Just hanging out with you guys over there. Watching Kenny paint that Mantic model. So welcome if you're coming over from Kenny's. Master Brento, what's happening? Hello? Hello, everybody. Hello. Jen is working on some Monster Apocalypse over there.
I am. I have this little guy.
They're called Belchers? Belchers.
Planet. I thought
they're Planet Eater Belchers. Those things are called Belchers. And this is
I love
Borka.
that.
Borka
Very
Kegslayer
tiny.
is a War Machine Hordes bust that we are doing in the color of our Trolls army. We're doing this yellow skin, and a while back we showed in a kind of a quickie tutorial on stream how to airbrush skin and use underpainting of lots and lots of different colors to get a really good depth to skin that doesn't make it look, airbrushed necessarily. Got all sorts of colors of greens, purples, and oranges and blues, and then of course the yellow top coat on him. Work today, we had some people ask yesterday during the stream to show how we do the leather using our new transparent paints. If you have not been here before, we are Creature Caster. Danopaints, what's going on? 30 freaking months. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Dano.
Again with that Twitch Prime. Have I told you about Twitch Prime? The transparent paints that just came out a few weeks back, I've been using them in a lot of different ways and showing off a lot of the techniques that you can use to kind of not only speed up your painting, but to get some really, really cool effects done with them. And so tonight we've been asked to start off with showing off how I do some of the leather. Right, so we're going to work up this black-brown base coat on this strap that goes across the front, and then we've got little bits of leather tunic that are, sticking out the side of his fur collar. And we're going to paint all that, and then I'm going to use the transparents to show you how you can color it after the fact.
Death Hour was like a year ago. But hello.
So right now I'm just taking some of our dark umber Pro Acryl line, and I am just going in and kind of starting to sketch in the areas where light and darkness are going to live on the leather itself. I don't want a whole lot of the black brown showing. It's our shadow color. If you're familiar with the way that I paint, or if it's time here, I paint from dark to light pretty much exclusively.
Thank you, Death Hour.
Death Hour, 35 freaking months, man. Good gosh. One of the most untrustworthy people in the stream, right there. Liar tag in full effect. Thank you, my man. And so we'll start with a dark color, but that dark color usually doesn't find much visual space on the model at the end as a standalone color. So even though we've got that deep, deep black brown on the model, we're not trying to see a whole lot of it. So I'll take the dark umber and go all the way down to where I've only got like a hair's breadth of that black brown showing, like in this deep fold front. Bit right underneath there, and a little bit right underneath there, and then of course it'll sit inside the divots to texture along sculpt. Everything else we just kind of work up from there.
Painting said, how flat are the Pro Acryl paints compared to Vallejo? I'm looking to buy a whole new range. Was eyeballing scale 75 and Pro Acryl and Reaper. I'm a Vallejo fanboy, but I'm fed up with the separation issues I'm having and availability here.
So our paints are the
only
flattest you will find that still give you a really, really good feel while using them. If you've ever used super, super flat paint, sometimes they are a little chalky. Ours are not. But they are ultra matte, so you can see, like on this guy, everything that is on this model is our paints. We paint exclusively with our paints here. So if I zoom in and show you the flesh on this guy, right, you can see under the direct lighting here the lack of reflection, but still the depth of color and the smoothness. Right, we don't have any chalkiness, we don't have any added texture. It's all done with airbrush on the skin. But everything, you look at the teeth. Look how flat that base coat of brown is on the teeth. So our paints are ultra flat, but still super smooth going on. Great texture, great flexibility on the brush or the airbrush. Trust me, you'll love them if you're looking for something that has a very matte finish. I feel like we've hit a home run with being able to bridge the gap for that ultra matte, but we still have a fairly long dry time as well. So open time, if you're familiar with that term in paint artist terminology, the open time allows them to be wet on the model a little bit longer in most situations, definitely longer so than any other model acrylics you've ever used. and so you can wet blend with them a lot easier. They're just great all-around paints. You know, I don't care how long you've been painting. If you consider yourself to be a beginner or a seasoned professional, these paints will do exactly what you want them to do. You won't find your techniques being limited by the paint at all. The paints will grow with you and be able to expand into whatever techniques you want to do. And the finish is just part of the guarantee for that, right? Kind of demand a matte finish. They are much more matte than Vallejo. Reason for that is that as you're painting, if you have a very reflective surface, like if you paint with gloss paints, the paint tends to reflect so much light that you can't tell where your highlights need to live, and it becomes very difficult to get your values set.
Yeah, no plan. We are out right now of the base set, but we'll be getting it back in stock next week. And then, yeah, we have the base set, expansion 1, which is 16 colors, and then expansion 2 is the 8 transparents. So, yep, you can buy all 3.
Total of
next
53
week.
Colors out, and yeah, next week the
Next
original
week.
set will be back in stock.
We have the expansions right now, but we're missing some colors on the base.
I think
set,
we're out of like 3 or 4 colors out of the base set.
I think maybe 4 or 5.
So
actually,
yeah, we keep selling. We're getting lower and lower, right? But
well,
we've
because
got
people are
restock
buying
on.
them singles, and they're buying up all the singles that they can get. So, NAR 147, thank you.
NAR. What's going on? Again, I'm just kind of using very loose brush strokes and putting some of that darker black brown in the divots of the leather flaps and such. Got a lot of grain and texture on this bust. It's a really cool bust. Got scratches. I won't shove the brighter browns in those. I'll leave those just black brown. Not worried about too much. Looking for overall coverage. Pass. Busts are funky, right? Because they're like exploded diagrams. They have parts on them that you're like, I'm not real sure that I need to worry about painting this. Like this underside of this tunic wouldn't ever be bright. Have other body parts here covering our ability to. Since they're visible, we'll go ahead and put a little paint on them. We probably won't highlight this area down here very much. Back. Just enough to make it look like we weren't super lazy and forgot about it entirely. We are super lazy, by the way. Try to pretend that we're not from time to time. No, I'm trying to fool myself to thinking that we fool all the people, but we really don't.
Triple nickel, yes, soon, but we don't have a date.
What's that?
Paint rack.
Nope. They will be soon. As soon. And we did set up U.S. distribution. I'm waiting on samples. Or not U.S. distribution, but U.S. manufacturing again for those. So I'm waiting on the samples from the factory, and those should hopefully hit us in a week or so. And then once I get those approved, racks won't ever hopefully be out of stock for as long as they have been this time around. Current factory for those is overseas. Get an order completed.
Open Painting said I got the ivory and jade at Adepticon this year, but have not had a chance to honestly use them.
What? That's only like 9
I'm
months
just
ago.
reading. I don't want to judge a line on just 1 or 2 paints, so I'll just buy the whole lot. Well,
you'll love them, man. And you bought jade
really
and ivory,
will.
which are some of the best too. So not that there are any that are any different, but those colors are some of our biggest sellers.
Yep.
Jade especially has become just a world phenomenon. It's so hard to keep jade in stock. It hit Europe by storm. the Pro Acryl European Tour. Jade was the most purchased color over there. Our blacks and whites, you'll love them all.
Okay, has jade and dark blue.
Yeah, I'm
and
using
this is
jade
jade and
as
dark
the
blue, too.
foundation for all of the quills on the top of the heads here. I'm taking it with dark blue and then blending dark blue and jade together until I work up to pure jade. And then I'll start, when I get to the highlighting portion of this model, we'll start adding probably olive skin tone or ivory to the jade to do the highlights on it and stuff. It's just a fantastic color.
Jack said my King of War was painted with nothing but Pro Acryl and mostly the new lines.
Awesome.
Enjoying trying them. We enjoy
Means
them
the
too.
world when people show us their work
Sure
and they're like,
does.
you know what? I'm about to just throw all the rest of my paints away. These are so good. And we get that all the time. So that's the best kind of situation for us, right? Those are the best reviews when you get people like Kenny uses the paints all the time. James Wapple, lots of big painters have picked them up and have really grown accustomed to them and swapped them into their regular rotation, their go-to paints, and that's a huge deal. So, all right, so just a real quick coverage of that. Seasoned professional.
Mm-hmm.
Have I airbrushed this face you're working on now? Yeah, airbrushed. Yeah, all the skin on him was airbrushed. We did. I don't know if it's still on. I need to port it over to YouTube if I haven't. I don't remember if I did. It may be lost forever. Right, but we airbrushed all this. We did a session showing underpainting. So we painted him with a bunch of purples and greens and burnt oranges and colors like that, and then layered the yellow thinly over the top to get the skin colors. So we've got a really good kind of purple and green shade that you can see popping in like on the veins of the neck, right? Some of the burnt orange as that kind of blood under the skin type color. I think there was a little bit of burnt red in there too, but there's some blues and all sorts of colors that you can find. The green, I think, was one of the better ideas. We've got that green shadow that comes from like the base of the skull. We find some purples and greens. You get a little bit of the orange and the purple under the eye. So we spent a lot of time showing and talking about it, and then how directionality with the airbrush and underpainting and layering can give you a tremendous effect out of airbrushing that's very simple and quick to do. So that was the goal, and we pulled it off pretty good on this guy. Pretty good. We haven't touched him with a brush yet on the skin, so the skin is 100% just airbrush right now. We've been brush painting all the other little details that you see us do now. We took some time and sketched in our values and kind of shine locations on the dirty pauldron there for some non-metallic, but we haven't really gone back and done much with it. All just early stage base coats right now. So I need to get, did I already put it out on the palette? Did I forget? I'm old, I forget things. So, gonna go to light umber now. Thanks, No Plan. Pride is forever. Love that bust. No, this is a privateer press. This is a Troll Blood from War Machine Hordes. It's Borka Kegslayer. He's one of the warlocks, the leaders from the Troll Blood faction. And it's just a bust that I'm painting in the exact same colors as the army that we're doing. We got, I don't know that I have many of the models there. I think the only thing I have is this.
They're all over there.
The Sea King model that we're doing, right? We got all these trolls that we're painting in various shades of this kind of burnt orange and yellow skin, right, that we're doing. Dallas Kemp, back when he worked for Privateer Press, gave me this bust at Kingdom Con a couple years back, and I promised I'd paint it, so I'm doing that. I'm slowly but surely doing that.
Now that he
doesn't work at Privateer Press anymore, doesn't care. Wazuzu, you had to mount a decorative black key hook holder to the wall, but the fasteners it came with were bare metal. You painted them with coal black. 10 of 10 would use for tertiary hobby projects, for home repair projects again. That's awesome.
Nice.
Ask Kenny. I think Kenny was painting like movie sets with our stuff, right? He was like, I need more mahogany. I was like, how do you run out of that paint in a week? He goes, well, I used it to paint some stuff for Bonet's movie. I'm like, what? What? 3 years next month. In about 2 weeks, Death Hour. Isn't that right, man? Holy hell.
What's 3 years?
Been hanging out with our sorry butts.
Oh.
Vile Valiance. What's going on? Thank you for that follow. And welcome, welcome, welcome. Hello, everybody. It is Friday. I'm Jen. That's Jason. I'm the dead sexy one. She paints well.
What is it about turning the stream on that makes my paint on my palette dry instantly?
When you turn the stream on, the paint starts drying?
It was fine the whole time we were painting before. And now all of a sudden, I can't get my paint to stay.
So now I'm just going to go back over
Very
these parts and pieces parts and stuff. And I'm adding some texture in here. You can see I'm just kind of swiftly doing little bitty lines. Not worrying about blending colors, because with leather, a lot of times the texture is what really defines it. And so if you can use the right brush strokes, get the right coloration and such, you can get a really rough, quote-unquote, blend going on and sell it a lot better than if you spend a lot of time smoothing it out. Now, that doesn't mean that if you've got the right model that would be wearing like new leather boots or something that you would probably forego everything I just said. But in the case of a troll, this guy, we want those textures, right? We don't want this to feel like it's brand new. So I will not be blending my lines. I just kind of run them together, stipple every now and then. Leave gaps in my color, do all the things that we spend most of our brain time saying don't do. Now you do it, right? So if I can get in here pretty close, should be able to see, back out just a little bit. Be able to see how loose my brush strokes are, right? See in here. Setting up those textures of like stressed leather that's been, kind of beat up, bent over and then bent over again and folded and crushed and
Drax said, "I'm so glad you listened to us lying liars and came out with your own paints."
I was the lying liar. I was like, we'll never make our own paint. Why would we ever do that? We made white. And then everybody loved the white and pressured us to make better paints that were like our white. And I was like, no, we're never going to do that. And I'm glad we did it, too. It's been a hell of a ride with you, gang. Thank you for all the support. And it ain't over yet. Lots of really cool stuff. Pete just posted about an hour ago on Facebook the teaser pic of the full body King of Ecstasy. Such a good model.
I mean, I've seen it, but
such
it's
a
still
good
exciting.
Model. Looking forward to seeing what everybody does with that. It's great. Comments are great. Somebody on the Facebook post on the Creature Caster page, I think, had commented that, all these companies coming out with models that look like Kingdom Death models. And I responded to him by saying, hey, man, we've been around longer than the Lion God's dong. Because the Kingdom Death Lion God has got like a huge dong that comes out of his face and stuff. So I said, we've been around longer than the Lion King's dong. I don't know if that joke will be lost on everybody, but I had fun writing it. So.
T. Schmid wants to know, when airbrush pre-highlighting over black primer, use white or ivory, or does it matter?
I prefer white because you get really clean grays, and for pre-highlight, I really prefer a neutral coloring. But that's all something that is up to you, right? Because if you're going to use your pre-highlight to show through and you're going to be painting with, warmer colors maybe, then ivory would be a good substitute for white. Remember, the key is just to get the right value, brightness to darkness on the model. And it doesn't really matter as much color-wise. You could use dark blues and light blues if you wanted, right? Just understand that those colors, if you paint transparent over the top or very thin glazing over the top, things like that you're going to wind up seeing those colors show through, right? That's up to you. Ivory's going to allow whatever colors go over it to be a little warmer. Nothing wrong with that. Like if you were painting a model red or orange or even yellow or something like that, then doing ivory with the black would probably be a really good idea. It would maintain some of that. If you have ever tried to paint thin with red or yellows or oranges, a lot of times they can discolor when they're thin, because especially going over darker colors and things like that, painting from shadow up, you can wind up with them being a little, like yellow can be a little greenish and things like that. Ivory helps to eliminate some of that. Definitely. I personally just like neutral colors, so I just use black and white.
Shinkai.
What's going on,
Thank
man?
you. 22 months.
Welcome back.
No Plan Painting said, my 9-year-old daughter is over my shoulder right now. Remembered you guys from Adepticon this year. She wanted to say hi.
Hello.
Hi. She's painting this weekend for a contest. Awesome. What's she painting?
Thank you for that follow.
That's super cool. That was Bruno Tor.
Loose brushstrokes. Yeah, what is she painting? A model. Almost like I'm painting hair, right? I'm just kind of smacking the model with this same directional brushstroke. You guys can see that? Because remember, we're going to be using our transparent paint over the top of this. And one thing the transparents do very, very well is, number one, allow your texturing that you've done underneath them to show through, but also bring it all together. So you can use really loose brush strokes, and the transparent kind of will pull them together and not have them be as abrasive, I want to say. Maybe that's not the wrong word, but choose, you can put the transparent on in a way that will kind of pull all those loose brush strokes together. I'm not afraid of using these kind of loose, streaky feeling brush strokes that make it look more like, hair, thin hair, than a flat surface. They have this sculpted as fairly thick leather, has the textures that you can sculpt, like a thin patent leather shirt or anything. Thick hide, has like elephant or rhino skin texture to it already.
Well, work part, that's what he was just talking about, was the King of Ecstasy, that it just, we just posted a picture of it. Do we have a release date?
Next week.
Next week.
We're targeting the 15th. But it's already over in Europe and everything.
Thursday,
so
I think, is the 15th.
What's that? Thursdays is it?
Thursdays.
Thank you for that follow.
BD92.
Again, just kind of tracing, for lack of a better term, all of the textures that are on the model from the sculpt. Not having to create a whole lot here, because it's already on there. Sides here are very flat. There's no texture carried out here. So again, I'm not real back on a bust. The whole idea with bust is that you paint them from one direction. Not concerned with what this looks like. Wasn't sculpted for that. A lot of people like busts because they are the kind of models that give you a directionality based on the fact that they only have a portion of the body showing. So you can do some really cool lighting effects. You've probably seen a lot of painters that, bust with very dramatic kind of by the fireside at night lighting on them. And you can get away with that kind of directional camera shot effect because nobody's really going to pick the bust up and turn it around. As soon as they do and they scale on the back from the sculpt, then their brain turns off and stops expecting there to be coloration back here. So you don't have to do a lot. Except for the fact that they're usually highly detailed and people expect them to look really, really good from the front. So, so there's that. That little hiccup. Gotta do all the stuff they can. Lighting wise on this, I thought this might be kind of a cool centerpiece for my army. I dig it.
Getting a Reaper black miniature the upcoming miniature.
Free? Yep.
For the upcoming miniature monthly contest.
Nice. Oh, look at you.
Super
Fantastic.
Cool.
Good luck, and excited to see it. Hopefully you'll show it off. I'm going to take some olive flesh from our new expansion set, and I'm going to start mixing it in with the light umber. So we just start creating lighter and lighter tan colors out of mixing these two in various amounts on the palette. Nothing super fancy. Again, we're going to be using the brown transparent, maybe some other colors of transparent over the top of this. So I'm not really worried about color of leather right now. I just want to keep it in the world of browns. But I'm not worried. Like, you know, at the end of this, it's not going to look like I intend it to. We're just making all of the textures so that we can take that and put the brown transparent over the top.
Okay, let's ask Red. If one was to pick up one of the 3 sets you have for your paint, which one would you highly recommend someone pick up to be their first pickup?
The starter set. The starter set has got the what we call the base set, right? Is your best bet because it has the whites and the blacks and the kind of, you know, the reds and yellows and all those original initial colors that you're going to want to get going that you use on, I won't say every model, but that are just very highly used colors. The expansion sets, not saying that they are not also highly used colors, but, you know, they're going to be ones that are variations, you know, lighter or darker versions of some of those other colors, and you can add them as you need them. The fact, I mean, you can buy our paint singly too, and because of the website, the way the store sells the paint, you know, you can go through and order just the colors you want and get set pricing. It's like a build your own set, right? If you add 8 colors to the cart, then you're going to get a discount.
Yep. So I was just going to say, if you like shopping, then you can go through and look at each color individually. If you don't like shopping and you want to just do a click, 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 then that's buy all 3 sets. But you can buy all of the paint singles. If you're in the U.S., though, we are out of a few until next week.
So here's where I start in with stippling more than that loose line stroking. As I go into these brighter colors, I'll still do some lines, but I'm going in with a lot more just poking dots of color on here, some thicker, some thinner, then maybe a streak or 2. A lot of cases I'll do ones that are almost perpendicular to the edges, like that, so that we start getting that beat up leather look, right? The first couple of layers, we're all going in the same direction. Notice how over here we've got our dark brown, our dark umber, our black brown, our dark umber, and our light umber layers, 3 colors here. But they all, even though they use loose strokes, they all follow this kind of horizontal brush stroke. I haven't been patterning. I've just been using that loose brush stroke to give it a little bit of initial underlying texture. Consider this to be 3 colors to create your base coat, and you create some textures in there. Now, as we start going in with the highlighting, I'm doing random texturing. You know, you can imagine like if you've had an old leather belt and it folds and gets beat up and stepped on and taken off, and, you know, it gets folded over backwards and pulled through the strap, and so it gets all sorts of stress marks on it. So they don't have to go in any one direction. If as I keep highlighting, I keep pulling the same horizontal line, this will get really boring and it starts to lose that ability to really get some cool texturing going on with it. You can just see the difference there, how this is starting to look like an old beat up belt now. Long day at work, struggling to get out of gold 3. Playing TFT, is that what you're saying? I think I'm in gold 3 right now too. I haven't played though. I'm not really messing with that game until they get their act together. I've been playing lots of Dota Underlords, which I didn't like as much, but then they got their act together and made a patch that fixed all the problems that I have with these kind of games. And I've been playing that a lot more.
Bamf said, I feel like I'm being judged for the poor maintenance of my leather belts.
The poor maintenance of your what? Of your leather
belts.
I'm telling you, man. It's up to you. Belt care is up to you.
Still one more name.
Still one more name. Holy hell. We do get to see him on Fridays occasionally. What's going on, Luke? Good to see you, man. Kind of ride the top edge of these areas on this belt, and I just kind of, with stippling, there's a feel to it, right? You just kind of want to like get some dots closer together and then kind of just layer them out and then kind of space your brush, right? So I won't move the brush a whole lot horizontally, and then as I get further out, I start moving it more and get a little line there. Big key is that I don't want a whole lot of areas where it looks like, you know, the lighter colors all kind of go together. So I'm not doing any long lines here. You can even place them in the shadows. Obviously you want to focus on some of the highlight areas first, but you can have these textures exist down in the shadows because that's, you know, these are spots where the leather hide has rips and tears or little pinhole pricks on it or things like that. So I'm going to kind of go perpendicular to this, turn my brush, a couple of swipes, that, because I can, this belt when it comes out of this would fall back over, so you'd get some spots like that where it bends along its length.
Ray Silver wants to know what the color choice for the gums was on that bus.
What the what is?
Color choice on the gums.
On the gums?
Yeah.
Right now it's like a fire engine red thing because I'm going to show you how to use the transparent purple over red. So I kind of set it up before the stream to do that. So it's very bright right now. Right? But I'm going to knock that back down. Same mentality that we're doing with the leather. I just didn't know if I'd have enough time to do both the base coating, and the leather was asked for specifically by somebody in chat yesterday. So that's what we're focused on here. But notice how I haven't really painted a line. I'm not using standard edge highlighting protocol here, right? I'm not going through and drawing lines. All of my lines that I'm creating are broken and using this kind of poking, stippling, kind of hatch marking method. Gives us a much more realistic leather right out of the gates, and this is just the first layer of it. We can go with as many colors as you feel comfortable with. If you were not using the transparent, you could see yourself adding in other colors here, you know, all sorts of crazy stuff. So it's up to you. This is just the first color, so I'm setting up the texture with this, I guess. You know, not really a agreed upon terminology for this, but I think that the way that I would describe it is I'm kind of laying out the leather feel right now. And then what we'll do after the fact is come in with our lighter colors and start giving some more directionality to this. I want this to really be beat up leather. So this has been through hell and back kind of a thing. Especially like an area back here where the belt goes through the buckle, right? There would be a lot of stress right along this heavy duty bend point right here. So I'm going to do some more pseudo vertical lining like that.
Drax soap making process is top secret, so we cannot neither confirm nor deny.
Some quick marks out of the area where the buckle prong goes through the holes. Kind of a starburst effect around the openings. That looks pretty good. Same color, and we'll do the tunic again. Part of the thing that I'm showing you is that you can use all the same colors regardless of what you want this to look like. I don't want this spot of tunic to be the same as the belt color at the end of the day, but I can paint my base texturing and stuff however I want, and then change it with the transparents. Kind of the best part of the transparent paint.
Gray, I mean, I would start over, creaturecaster.store, and okay. And then choose the American flag at the bottom.
Here, rather than the same way I'm doing the buckle, you'll see I'm starting by kind of layering in verticality and horizontal lines. Other colors. That'll ensure that my textures aren't identical at the end of the day. I don't want the leathers to look the same. I don't want them to look like they're worn out the same way. Holes, though. Starburst effect around them. Less stippling on this stuff, mainly because it's already got this amazing texture to it. Kind of carry that on. Small areas like this where we can't really do the lines, we will stipple more. Lines. Kind of, I don't want to trace the same lines. I just want to make sure that these kind of go in the same direction. So I'm just going to put fewer of the brighter lines, kind of nudge them in there around where we did the others. Funnel, diagonal. Now I just want to kind of make directional motion, if you will, as those ones that I put. Brush stroke gives texture. Very light touch required here because you're basically if you're watching closely, you'll see that sometimes I'll make a motion with the brush and there won't be any paint hit the model because I'm kind of, I'm doing it so lightly that the brush stroke will start up here, right? But it'll only hit down towards the edge, right? I'm really just trying to get paint right here on the edge. I'll start up here and just kind of use an angle down stroke so that when it hits, it gives me kind of a comet shape. Very thin beginning and then thicker as the paint gets out towards the end. Rather than just sitting here and going in and putting the brush tip down and drawing a line. And that line is the same, width the whole way. If I smack it, guarantee that teardrop shape, comet shape. It's going to be thin where the brush initially hits as it comes through this arc, right? So if I go like this, is how this brush stroke works. So it's very light pressure as it starts to hit here and then more pressure as I get closer, right? So it just pushes more of the brush into the model as I go down. That arc does it for me. So that's the motion that I'm making here. I'm not keeping the brush flat to the surface and pulling it along like this. I'm doing this arc. Right? Probably see I'm steepling my finger to the model everywhere. Got my ring finger pressing into the model to give me a basis for then pulling that brush stroke back. So I'm not just hanging out here trying to do it. Having that balance point helps you kind of get that hand-eye coordination and make banging too much of the brush in there and putting too much paint. Pulling apart from the other black brown stuff like that. Texture to it. Pretty much like cheating on this part because it's already. Sculpt's got a lot of really good texture on
I do like to take the weekend off from the shipping ray, but it'll probably go out Monday.
Don't ship on the weekends. What was the deal with the mics? Is the gate cutting us off? Can you get a hug? You need to wait 35 hours for an eBay auction? Yeah, we run a gate on the mic, and I have it turned up pretty obnoxiously high. I'll turn the gate down a little bit. Maybe it'll trigger a little bit better now so it doesn't clip as much. But our AC here in the office is, we're not in a house. We're in our commercial space where we do work from. And the AC here is very industrial. And so it's like Dealer Death said, it's pretty much a jet engine.
And it's right here.
Yeah, I think the only way for us to have gotten away from it would be to do the stream in the stock room and move the stock out here, which may happen eventually. I don't know.
I mean,
I don't really want to do that.
I guess it depends on how much more stock we get. If we overflow and run out, then maybe we do switch.
Yeah, we may need to move stock out here anyway. When bags get here, we might just have to move everything out here anyway. I don't really want to move the stream again, but it would help. Drac was yelling Ray out the window. That's not his real name. That's not his real name. His real name is Shirley. All right. And well, yeah, that's right. And you guys left Oklahoma. That's right. I forget it. All right, so now we have a choice to make, right? We have to go with a brighter color, and I'm pretty sure I just want to do the olive skin tone. Nah, I think I'm going to put out a little bit more light umber. On most models that we're just doing quick, I would probably just jump right now to olive skin tone by itself and not worry about mixing it with the light umber anymore. On this model, even though our space is limited, meaning that, you know, even though it's a bigger model, the leather itself is not a huge amount of space, right? And so we don't really need to go 4 more colors. But if I can not go to straight ivory or olive skin tone right away, it gives me a little bit more work room to do that final highlight and get more depth to my texture, right? Because each layer of the texture that we're going to do, so here's all my colors, right? My darkest brown, my mid brown, and my lightest brown that we're using right now. Get that a little wetter, so anytime you're doing stippling, you need to have your brush a little damp so that the paint flows a little bit better, because you're making these little wispy strokes. Right, and so now we can kind of just get into this little hole, and again, just kind of flick the brush.
Yep.
Right. Like that, just randomness. Here, there's not really a hole sculpted. It just has the buckle tongue coming through there. So we'll just kind of stipple around the area where the actual tongue is. And then same thing, we'll just kind of stipple. We're not going to put near as much dots with the brighter color because we don't want it to overtake the work we've just done. So we space them out a little bit further. You can imagine like anywhere where these very bright dots are the most beat up spots, right? And if I've got these vertical lines, just kind of accent those a little bit. The whole idea with layering is when you're doing stuff like this with the leather is don't trace the color that you put down before, right? Because if I go down and I just do dots right over the last dots, there's no difference, right? There's really no separation. You're not trying to do traditional highlighting here. I am going to get in kind of close here and get that bend on the back to be a little bit more prevalent. Like so. But if I just go back in and like see I've got this line right here, I can go in and I can catch where that line and this line cross and kind of use that as a anchor point for putting some color in. I can grab a couple of these spots and, you know, if I've got a little vertical line, I can add a couple of dots along that vertical line, but I don't want to just trace the line. Right? I don't know if you guys can, if that's coming through. Right? But if I've got an area that's like here, right, I've got this vertical line or almost vertical line, I just want to dab a little color. Because you can imagine if that was a scratch on the high areas, the bumps in the leather, you'd have areas where the scratch was deeper, and so that's where you want to put the brighter color, but it would just be dots like that. Right? And the line, the lighter color line, then scratches a little bit deeper and continues. But the brightest color doesn't want to just draw that same line, right? I'm going to do the same thing here. Like so. and you get that depth, right? It's what we keep talking about, is that you want to layer these colors, but you want to use less and less as you go and kind of randomly space them, like when painting marble. Same effect. If you just trace the same lines in your marble effect over and over again, they just look like shaded lines, and it looks like, you know, a pinstripe suit. There's no natural variation. So the randomness of stippling is one of your best techniques for doing leather, because, you know, just don't think about it. Just go at it and press a few dots in, and make sure you're doing fewer dots of your brighter color than you did of the color before it. And you'll get a really good distressed look. I'm really liking that. This one over here especially, the part and the buckle is looking really good. Because this is going to be one of the most distressed pieces, because it gets pulled through the buckle rubs up against it, the little tongue from the buckle pushes through there all the time, so this is going to be one of the lightest colors along the length of the belt. That and any of the areas where the hole, because you can imagine he's either gotten fatter or skinnier and had to adjust his belt. Right? So we got a pretty good texture going. Then the same color over here. Now we'll start stippling more, doing that rather than trace the lines on the rest of this. Try to imagine where the high spots are on all of these scratches. Texturing, once you get to the point where you get a project and you do one and you're like, oh, I really dig that, right? You like the texture you came up with. It becomes one of those things that your initial fear turns into a love of the randomness. I think for a lot of people, the hard part is actually trying to be random. In so many cases, we're kind of trained to do things methodically and symmetrically. So when you get to certain points like stippling leather and adding textures in, and if you do the same thing, if you make it methodic and symmetrical, then all of a sudden, you know, they lose their effect. Hey, what's going on? Thank you for that follow. I'll put more paint as we go up towards the shoulders, obviously, because we still have to be thinking in terms of brightness and darkness. As we reach the shoulder area, we're going to see more light color. Continue to just kind of brighten my textures up a little bit. And you'll notice how, because we're using the same colors, right, these look a little monochromatic. The belt looks really good, but then the leather here, there's really not a divide, right? And we don't want that at the end, but because we're using the transparents, we can do it now, right? We don't have to worry about coloring right now. Just choose a brown, or hell, you could be using a green right now if you wanted to. Still doing a little bit of texturing on these ones that are up here barely sticking out, right? But you don't have to spend as much time up there.
Ray said, I'll be interested to see how you differentiate the fur and the belt pattern and color-wise.
Well, the fur is going to be more of a black. I based it with the black brown, but the fur is going to be black, right? It's kind of a bluish black, but the brown gives you a really good natural kind of a base for hair, even if it's black. If you look at like human hair, the only time you get black hair is when it's fake. We get various shades of brown, and some of them just happen to be very, very dark.
Russ, you can't go to Privateer Press's website and buy trolls?
Yeah, you can. Well, you can't buy the entire army. Their website, they're really built towards retailers.
Oh.
So you can buy them on the internet and stuff like that, but they really want people to buy their stuff through the stores that support them, which is a great deal.
Russ said, shame I can't buy any of the trolls here as they seem great fun to paint.
What do you mean you can't buy them there?
To read what people write.
People in Europe and the UK play trolls. What are you talking about? They're not off limits to you guys.
Ray, I'm it's fantastic. I know I haven't typed in chat. How have I done the little dude with the carapace on the back? This one? There's like 4 of these guys, and then there's this guy.
I'm doing some hatch.
He said nobody stocks them in the UK.
Whatever. Lies. Lies, I tell you. Your local game store may not carry War Machine, but you can find it there. There's a big War Machine Hordes tournament scene over there, and those guys don't all order it from the US, I guarantee.
Privateer Press has gone silent and all the paints and models are not being restocked.
Oh.
This guy, I haven't done him yet, Ray. So, I don't know. He's still primer.
They are, they got a new distribution thing set up over in the UK for Black Anchor heavy industries, the big resin models, like the gargantuans and stuff that only come out special on the internet sometimes. So I just keep checking around. You may have like a local store that has had a hard time ordering because they are shutting down distribution. So whoever was the distributor over there, they're making people buy direct from Privateer Press. You've got to go direct, and that's probably reaching out to the UK and EU as well. Which I think is a great plan. They don't need it. I did do a little texturing, as you can see on the back of this, just because it has a large amount of space there, but I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on it.
Assassin Red said, I'm looking at 2 air compressors. There's only a little bit of difference in price. One has a tank, the other one doesn't. They both have a PSI gauge as well as a water trap. Should I spend a little extra money to get the tank or save a little bit and not worry about the tank?
Yes, get the tank. Tank compressors just give you a much more average output of air. If it doesn't have a tank, because imagine, you have a motor and then a tank and then your airbrush, right? And if you just have a motor and then your airbrush, the motor does not run as much as they'd like to say that it runs constant output pressure. It can't. Motors just don't do that. They have, as they do, compression and exhaust strokes and things like that as a piston-driven motor, then it will have a variance. It'll have a fluctuation in pressure as that piston compresses and releases and compresses and releases. And so depending on the quality of the compressor, right, then you may find yourself spraying and it'll get micro adjustments to air as you're spraying. So a tank is going to be better in every case because it compresses the air in the tank, and then you're spraying from a constant pressurized tank all the time. As the tank pressure lowers, the motor kicks in and fills the tank back up, but it won't ever affect your airbrush spray, right? Because you'll never eliminate all the air in the tank unless you forgot to turn the compressor on, at which point in time, then of course your air pressure drips off to nothing. But as long as you've got it turned on, it's working properly, and you're spraying, you'll have constant pressure at the gun, which is what you want. So a tank is always the best thing. Well, you don't buy War Machine through the Privateer Press site ever, right? You can buy the Black Anchor Heavy Industries stuff, like Black Anchor heavy and BAHI. You can buy the big resin models, but you don't order. They have the gallery, so you can see how much stuff costs. But you order through stores. They don't outsell their stores.
So like you could go to your store and say, hey, could
Right.
you order this for me?
Right. You can't go. You can buy this bust on the Privateer Press website, right? Because this bust is a thing that is not really
Not
presented
part
to
of the
retail
game.
as much. It's like a limited thing. Some of them are only available during conventions, but then they open that up. But you can buy stuff on the store. Like you could go to the store right now and order a Kador War Chariot because it's one of the Bahi models. It's a big resin kit and it's like $89. So the bigger stuff is available on the site because they don't pressure the stores into carrying all the big stuff all the time. But you can't go buy this guy from Privateer Press. You can buy the bits for him. You can go buy his arm with the shield because they have a whole bits store online too. But yeah, they're a good company with that. They just have recently retracted, from what I know. Now this is all me not working for them, right? But recently they've gone through and pulled out of distribution and wanting to stop the middleman approach because that's a really, and I agree, distribution is a weird model, right? It's not that I hate distributors. It's that when you sell your product to a distributor, in most cases, unless you're maybe GW or some big company that they can be incentivized to push that product out to their stores, the distributor really doesn't do anything except put you in their catalog. And so then you're still the one having to go out and reach out to the stores and say, hey, buy from this distributor. The distributor doesn't do anything except keep your stock there, right? And you have to pay them. So as a middleman thing, I think it would behoove Privateer Press from a business standpoint to cut the distributor out if they can increase, their margin without having to increase their price by, selling direct to the stores. Right? Or probably ask, are we still using an industrial compressor? Well, we use a workshop compressor, yes. Yeah, we don't use hobby compressors. The one Cal Air Tools compressor that we have that we traveled with to Adepticon that's amazing is great. It's still a finish nailing compressor. It's a hardware compressor, not a hobby compressor. They're just built better because they're meant to be used continuously by nail guns and people on work sites. So the mentality is that they should be built better to last longer. I know that's not always the case, but that's why we use them. Russ, that's just not true, man. That's just not true. There's the biggest tournament scene in the world is in your area, and there are stores that carry tons of Privateer Press. I know there's a lot of fall off, but they may be few and far between, but you can get the stuff there for sure. Your friend is getting out of War Machine, so you're going to buy and paint his army? No, nice. He owns everything except the new Exalted stuff. Send help. I got rid of my Scorn. I gave it to Mike, to Uncle Touchy. So Uncle Touchy plays Scorn now. But yeah, they got rid of their, whatever they call the press gangers, and so that's probably what is affecting your view of promotions. Like, nobody in the miniature world promotes, right? It's just, we don't have an avenue to really do it. They used to have the old press gang, which was the street team, and so there would be guys that you could go to local game night, and a dude would have a Privateer Press shirt on, and he got free product from them for helping throw tournaments, and when they disconnected that, a lot of it stopped happening, unfortunately. So that's true. Right? I know stateside they're looking at doing something that will help out. It's not owned by Privateer Press. It's being championed by a guy here locally, actually, from Broken Egg. And he's hoping to create kind of a press ganger situation for not only Warma Hordes, but they have a new game coming out called Warcaster. I think it's called Warcaster. That's like a 40K version of War Machine that sounds really cool. It's a futuristic space sci-fi-ish version of War Machine that'll be out in the next few years. I think by 2020. I think they said by next year we'll see it. So I'm excited for that. And I think along with that, they're going to come out with a new way to promo that isn't Privateer Press being responsible for having people out there. Because there was a lawsuit with, I forget who it was with, what gaming company or whatever, but it was because they were basically treating these people like employees, but these guys didn't get any benefits, right? So there's the legal hassle with having a team of press gangers. Yeah, Paint Dragon. Originally, the press gangers were manufacturers. Well, they weren't sales reps. They were private dudes like you and me who, in return for product, like they'd ship you models and you'd get like the new releases ahead of time, and so that you could paint them up and put them together and go to the stores and promote. So you were a promotions avenue. I used to be in the record industry, and back before there was digital music, in the record industry you had street teams, right? And so your street team were people that you had on a list who, in exchange for a couple of records and posters and, you know, industry stuff, maybe free tickets to the concert locally, they would go out and put your flats, your record flats. Remember those square things that were like fake album covers? They would go hang those record flats in the stores. And so back in the day, record stores the street teams would come in and they'd say, hey, we have these flats, and then you'd hang whatever the store would let you hang, and you'd staple them up on the wall, or you'd hand them out if they didn't want you messing around. You'd put them on telephone poles. You'd go around and put the posters up at the local concert hall, and those guys didn't get paid, right? They did all that for free for the cool factor of being involved with a record company and the band. So they were friends of the band locally and things like that, and usually, you know, big bands might have them worldwide, but smaller groups like what I was dealing with would have them in the general vicinity of where your group was from, like the Southwest for us because I was in Texas, or New York because you had contacts there. So, you know, it's a very grassroots promotional part of the industry that was free to the industry other than the product they gave out. With the way laws and labor laws have changed over the decades since then, now everybody feels like they need corporate benefits, right? If I'm going to do work for you, I need insurance, or I need to, you know, I hurt my back hanging that poster, you know, you owe me money, that kind of thing.
That I can see. But the benefit insurance, you don't. If you work part-time, you don't get benefits.
No, but it was stuff like that, and the government stepped in and said, if you're giving these people product in return for services, they are employees, right? It doesn't matter if it's dollars that you hand them or if it's a product worth a certain amount of dollars. That amount of dollars now has been paid to that person for services rendered, so you have to either 1099 them as a contractor or call them an employee. And of course, loads of corporations just dumped their street teams. Like, that's not a thing anymore because they just are like, nope, forget about it. You know, we can't afford to pay you and we don't want you suing us, so see you later. So it's yeah, it might have been Magic the Gathering judges, John Patrick. I wanted to say it was Wizards of the Coast, and I feel like you might be correct, right? Yeah, exactly. Exactly, Whiteham. I think that's the thing, is that it was the Wizards of the Coast deal that was the lawsuit from the judges, because the judges were being paid in like boxes of product, but they had no recourse, you know, if like in certain cases like Magic the Gathering might choose to drop you as a judge. And it becomes that age-old analogy of like if a kid shows up at your house one week and mows your lawn and you pay him $10, that's an agreement, that's a contract. Even if no words are spoken, the handing out of money to him for services makes a contract, right? Every time you buy something and get a receipt, that's a contract by law, right? If the kid comes back next week and mows your lawn and you give him $10, now you've renegotiated that contract and it keeps going. You may never speak to this kid. But if he does that every week for 36 weeks and then on week 37 he mows your lawn and you don't pay him, he will sue you and win in court because you have a continual contract with that kid and he's owed $10, right? And so that's true. Like that's just there's no ifs, ands, ors, or buts. And so that's the same kind of thing here. If I judge your tournaments and I, you know, run your local tournament for Privateer Press and I do it every month over month over month, and then I get product and then one time I'm doing your tournaments and for the month of May I've done all your tournaments, but you stop shipping me product and you just say, oh, we can't do that anymore. Now what? I'm owed product because we set up this agreement, you know, even though it's not written down. It doesn't have to be written. A lot of people think, well, I didn't sign anything. Well, that's not the way law works, unfortunately. There's a precedent there. And so a lot of companies just backed away from it, and Wizards of the Coast got sued, you know, and stuff like that. So right. Yeah, Ray. But yeah, same thing. So it's weird. You know, you can't have free promotion nowadays like you used to be able to because, you know, there was just a different mentality. And I can't say that it was true for everybody, but I know when I was in the record industry, there was a real cool factor for when a band came to town that you would get to go to behind the stage. You got backstage passes. Yeah. You got to bring a friend backstage, and that cool factor was huge for being a street team promo guy. And they'd go and do like a Jack Dyer 3 months, thank you. But you know, like we would go to town and we'd do like an in-store where you might play an acoustic song or you might hang out and sign your record or whatever. And those people came and hung out, and they got to sit and talk with you, and it was like, oh, great, awesome, wow, and hang out and go eat with you and whatever. They didn't ever need money. Nobody ever asked for money. It was not even a thing, right? It was just the kind of grassroots feel that things used to need before the internet. I mean, let's be honest. It was before there was an internet and things were cheap to communicate.
Yeah.
You know, you didn't have a way other than writing a letter to get information out to people. Call them on the phone, write them a letter. And so all these pen pals that you had in the music industry, you'd go travel to that town, and you'd all hang out. They'd come to the show, they'd get backstage, you'd sneak them in the back door and get them all those, you know, those fringe benefits, and that was enough. And then they would promote the hell out of you, right? And that was a cool barter system kind of a thing that went on. Nowadays, those things are harder and harder to, there you go. Houdini 7, implied in fact contract, exactly. Right, so, Hadoka. We were talking about press gangers for War Machine because, you know, we were talking about how in Europe, Russ was saying in Europe and the UK that War Machine hasn't been promoted for a couple of years. And I said it's probably because they got rid of the press ganger system or program because of the whole Wizards of the Coast lawsuit. A lot of people at that time dropped it. Cool Mini or Not dropped it. I forget who else had those kind of, you know, press gang things. GW dropped it. They used to have things. I think they had dropped it a long time ago, but GW used to have the guys local that promoted your games. It didn't work for GW. I forget what they were called. Conscripts or something. I don't remember what they were called. But a lot of big companies have had that. And nowadays it's just hard to do it because as soon as somebody, like I said, somebody hurts their back while judging a Magic the Gathering contest and demands that because they were on the job that you pay their medical expenses, and you're like, hell no. You know? That's not how this works. So you got to be careful with all that.
Oh, huh. People are faster than me. We're all here to help.
There we go. Very friendly group here. All right, so we've done quite a few colors on this. We've got our leather looking like leather. Now we're going to go one step higher because remember we're going to be using the transparent paints over the top of this. So we got to bust, like if we just wanted this color leather, we could stop here because it looks really good. Right? It's already got enough kind of coloration to it to fit what we're looking to do. But I'm going to go brighter because the transparent brown over the top of this will dull these colors down. So I need to go brighter. And so the one thing to remember when you're filtering, doing this, that whether you're glazing is applying filters over colors, whether you're doing it with transparent paints or inks or just real thin down paint through an airbrush, whatever it is, realize that every time you put a paint on top of another paint, the paint below it gets dimmer, right? It won't be as vibrant anymore. And so in order to counteract that, you need the layers below to get brighter than you would visually want to see them at the end of the model. And it's a little bit of a hard process to get your brain attuned to paint brighter because you might be used to stopping your highlights here and thinking, okay, that's perfect. And then you put the filter over the top and now it's not perfect. Now you have to find a way to go back and highlight it again. And if you're doing a lot of texturing, you might not want to do that. Or you might want to do very little and not have to go back with 3 more colors. So go over bright, like just you know, pull it up like you're going to see me do now because I'm going to go through and use, actually I'm going to grab another brush here. And I'm going to use just straight olive skin tone now, or olive flesh. We've been mixing it with the light umber. And now I'm going to add some more to the palette first because that seems to be dried up. Yeah, it's funny, the business of gaming is not that different from, you know, selling Cokes, you know, or anything else.
Selling Coke? What?
Well, you know, Cokes. I said not Coke. That's why I specifically said Coke. It's like Coca-Cola. You know, being a beverage distributor or something, right? It's just a different product. And it's a different buying populace and things like that. But the way you run it is no different. So, like Uber got sued by the drivers who wanted benefits, right? And that's the same exact kind of a deal.
Jack Dare will have it in next week. You can sign up for an email alert.
Yep, there's like hundreds of people signed up for email alerts on the site right now.
There are.
Waiting for paints and such. So we've got a neat feature on the website. Just sign up, put your email address in. As soon as that product gets put back in stock, and I do all that, as soon as I press the update stock button, it sends out emails to everybody that's on those lists.
What did he give a date on?
Somebody telling on
Just is it because I said next week? We legitimately know that it's in the country and will be delivered to us next week.
What's that?
Like I even know the specific day,
Oh, the paint?
but I'm not telling you. Ray said, "I thought you normally got mad at Jason for giving a date on something." But I didn't give a specific date. I just said a week. That gives me Monday through Friday. It will definitely be here
Yeah, I
by
thought you
then.
did very well with that. I don't feel like you committed.
I don't know how you paint like 50 models all the same because I'm trying to do 4 and it's driving me crazy.
I'm loving the fact that you're seeing this finally. Yeah, every time I have, like, I get this, amazing hair up my butt to, like, put an army on the table and play with it, and get 50 trolls painted. Now you see why you get burnt out real quick.
I don't like it.
You're like, okay, time to quit. Paint something else. Sick of purple.
I don't like it, but I don't have anything else to paint, so I got to do it.
I keep holding out. I'm like, I want her to learn to build models. So we're holding out right now. We're like, okay. She told me today, she's like, I want to paint an emperor dragon. I was like, ooh, boy, that'll be a good one to cut your teeth on.
No, I'm sure it won't be. But I've been wanting to paint that since the first time I saw it.
It's a great model, yeah.
Oh, and it's very much because of Game of Thrones. That's really why I want to paint it.
And so see, again, using less and less and not
Ray,
tracing
I've
many
already
of the
got
lines.
this far. I'm not going to make them different now. I've already got most of them done. It's this last part that's... Ugh. I'd rather just finish them than start over and paint them different. Jack Dyer, which ones are you asking about? His is mostly airbrushed, I would guess.
What's that?
Your model
I'm painting?
airbrush strips. Did I do that in the wrong? I just in the wrong spot.
Yeah, all the skin is airbrush. I haven't touched the skin with a brush yet. All the rest of it is brush. Typically the way I paint. I pick the, whatever the...
Well, I do, but like Jason said, they have to be put together. So, he's assembled everything for me up till this point. I feel like that has ended.
May not last, is that what you're saying?
I feel like that window has closed.
No, I'll still build your models.
Okay.
But you are going to help from now on. And then eventually you'll build your own. I can't just like send you loose and hand you an emperor dragon and say, here you go, honey.
I hope not.
Have fun with this.
You like me more than that.
Have fun. Here's the super glue and a knife. I know where the knife will go.
And no instructions.
Yeah, I know where the knife will go. Right in my back when I turn around.
Oh.
She'll just give me the cute smile and pull that thing that women do.
Well, this one is different. So isn't that different enough? These, like, if they're supposed to be different, then they should make them look different so that I know to paint them different. Because otherwise they look identical to me, so I paint them all the same. I know this guy is different and this little guy is different. That's it. And it's only 4 and I'm already almost done, so I'm going to do it.
Somebody giving you grief.
They all are. That's what I get for complaining. I'll just be over here painting.
She's not going to talk to you people anymore. She's like, I'm done with you people. I'm done with you people. Making fun of me. Went down to a little bit smaller brush. Get teeny little dots and stuff on there. Notice how I am applying a little bit more color across the top edge so I can get that value set on there. It's brighter across the top, a little bit more texturing that I'm picking up, and then much less as I go down. Hey,
Max JVL.
what's going on? Thank you so much for the follow. Welcome. As always, we hope everybody had a wonderful week and that you're winding down, finding some relaxed time as you head into the weekend. Even if you got to work, find some time to enjoy the world around you.
Oh,
Hopefully throw some paint on some stuff.
they have different cards, and that's supposed to be how I know that they're different.
One of them is a boss and one of them is not, but those are marked on their base. They don't have to be colored any different.
These little guys?
Yeah, one of them would, is the leader, but the models are identical.
Right.
So you just
So I
the
just
base has a
pick
little
one.
star on it, and that's the
Yeah.
only thing that needs to be
Okay.
different.
But I could paint
You could
them-
paint one
I
with,
could paint one a little different. Yeah.
a little different. That's up to you. I'm with you. I
might
don't
do
care.
that. We'll see. I think as most people know, or I think most people know by now, that I just paint things that look cool. I don't really care about the game.
That what?
I just paint this stuff that looks cool. I don't necessarily care as much about the game. Because I guess I probably should have known that one of these was supposed to be different.
I mean, you've only played the game once,
I know.
so it's not like you're intended to remember all that stuff. It doesn't have a whole lot of rules, but it does have rules.
Yeah. John Patrick is inquiring about new go bags and tray and foam.
Soon. That's our patented answer nowadays. So soon. Bags are in country, and we should be getting notification of delivery soon. I was hoping to get notification for delivery this week, but that didn't happen. So now we're kind of in a holding pattern, but I would hope that sometime this next week we get the truck here offloading them. Bags will probably take a little bit longer they'll take longer than the paints to get on the site, if only because we have to do the photos. Paints are already done, it's just a restock, right? So that's not as big a deal. Bags,
Brand new bags.
brand new bags, brand new product. Changes, can't use the old photo work anymore because they're different size. I mean, they look exactly the same, but they have the new logo on them and stuff.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we got to do some work. And I said to everybody last night that I will commit to letting you guys know first. So, sometime next week, and the only way I can tell you, to get ahead of the program if you want one of the limited edition colors, is to be on the stream every day next week. And that's not me trying to get more viewers. That's just the only way I can tell you that's a good way to do it. I'm not going to send out a bajillion emails to people. I'm not going to put people on a waiting list, right? The only way you're going to have to know what's going on is by
Yeah, because those special colors will go quick.
tuning in, because the dark purple and the dark blue will not be here long. That I can guarantee. Red, we had fewer reds last year. We're making more of the the colors, the special colors, but not a whole lot more. And the reds went within the first week of the bags coming out. We've got more people paying attention, more people asking questions. So if you want one of the quote-unquote rare colors, just be paying attention to the streams, you know.
And if you can't be on the stream, then buddy up with someone and give them your number. Have them call you.
I was going to
Say, get on there quick.
find a friend in the stream tonight
Find a regular. There's plenty of them.
and say, hey, can you email me? Can you text me if he says anything about bags? There you go. See, we're helping people make friends
Yeah.
on the internet. And just do a little bit of texturing on the back. Not, I mean, that's completely flat, so I'm faking all this. There's nothing really here, so I'm just kind of going in and
Your bag is vintage, yes. No, it's too hot now. I can't go on the roof.
I might use the green brown on the tunic and just the brown with a little bit of red in it maybe on the belt. I really like the reddish brown that we can get out of the transparents, so that might be a really good one. Okay. So we've got some good texturing of leather. Right. Old strap in the front, and then the rest of it was just kind of tracing through the actual sculpt to get some flavor on that. Oh, that's pretty good. So now what we're going to do is this belt first, and we're going to hit it with I'm going to go and put a little bit more of the a little bit more of this olive skin tone across the top, just to brighten these up. Then we're going to get some of the brown transparent out.
Drac, I will have excuses next time too, because it's a figure of speech and I'm not really getting on the roof. That's just all there is to it.
Brighten a couple of these areas up now that I'm seeing the olive flesh is curing. Getting the actual value out of it that we'll see on the model. I want to brighten up some of those top edges real quick. So, now we're good to go. You love one in orange? Orange could be a good color for next time. Because we're not doing red this time, technically. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Like a good emergency orange street cone color. Could be kind of neat. Maybe drugs would have been cheaper than all your miniatures. You know, we can't even bitch because we get so many of them for nothing. I agree, Drac. See, we should have made her get on the roof last time because she said she'd do it.
I know.
You did.
This
You
is
did.
a figure of speech.
You did. She's going to scream
People
it from
need
the
to not
rooftops.
take things so literally.
You need to say what you mean what you say. Don't hit me. I just wanted her on the roof of the house is what I wanted. I've been on the roof of the house a lot of times. She refuses to go up there. I know her balance, though, and I probably would not let her go up there.
Thank
I'd have
you.
to build her like a bunker and then set her in it so she couldn't fall out.
That I think really is the biggest concern.
Otherwise, we would be minus one gen.
Yeah.
Even though it's a single-story house, we would be minus one gen.
Mm-hmm.
We'd be... The next stream you'd see would be, so today on the stream we have a large donate button below the video window where you can help Jen be nursed back to health. Neon yellow bag. I just don't like making bright colored stuff like that in fabric because when it gets dirty, it's like you're not going to clean it, right? Which I guess might be okay. It'd be battle worn at that point, right? That could be a thing. Hazard stripe. Hazard stripe would be good, but I don't think they make a fabric. I might be wrong. They might make a fabric in hazard stripe. I think
You're
that
getting
like
more expensive.
the textured fabrics are hard to find in heavy duty nylon weave like we make the bags out of, right? We make them to last, and so the textured ones. I think I could get a camo, but they were telling me the camo is not exactly the same, and so I was leery of it. I told them not to sample it for me. This time around, I might go ahead and get a sample, but we'll see. Hooky doke, brown transparent. Brown, shoop. Brown, transparent. As a matter of fact, I think, because I like the red, I think maybe let's go ahead and do the red transparent so I can show you again. We did this on the King of Ruin, right, where we go over it with red first. So I'm going to take the transparent red, and I'm going to get it nice and thin on the palette. I can't turn on palette cam, I don't think. I'll try, but palette cam hates it when we do this. So let me, I'm going to go mono cam here and turn on this, turn off that, and everybody hold your breath. Nope, didn't work. Okay, yep. Anytime we have Jen's cam, the computer can't take like 6 cams on it, so I can't turn the palette cam on. But we will, I'll show you as best I can. Yeah.
Nope, not going on the roof.
He's
That's all
not
there is to
doing it,
it.
guys. Not doing it. And I have to admit, I'm a fan of her not going on the roof. Because I know, as much as I joke about it, I know what would happen, right? So I'm going to thin this down. This is about 3 brush loads of water in the red transparent. So you see, this is what you get, right? 3 brush loads of water with this brush. It's a det cord number 4, right? And that's the kind of coverage you get. So all the colors that we have on our thumb here, right? You can see how this red affects them. Some of them barely any, like this jade color, barely any. The reds, it just makes them a little bit more vibrant. And the browns, it becomes this kind of pink. That's what we want, right? Grab that, and we're going to just paint. Paint with a lovely transparent red. Right over all our brown. You might say, well, why'd you paint it brown then? Well, because guess what? That brown is influencing the way this red looks, and it's giving us a much deeper, richer, kind of purpley red than if it were painted in like black and white, where I'd be getting, if it were white highlights, I'd be getting a much more vivid pinkish color, which is not what I want. Notice how it's not covering up any of our textures. None of our detailing is going away. We thin this out good enough that it should be perfect color-wise and to get all that work that we did. Show. Get in there. Right. Bingo. There we go. Beautiful, isn't it? I'm done. I'm out of here. Bye. A nice pink leather strap. Right. And that's perfect. Now we'll get some brown transparent. Pow! Brown. These are the easiest colors in the world to memorize. James Wapple just did a video over on his YouTube channel. If you know about James. If you don't, it's James Wapple. W-A-P-P-E-L-L. Go give him a check out on the YouTubes. He did a paint a comparison between our transparents and the contrast paints from GW, actually. And it was an amazing deal because I don't have the contrast paints here, and so I don't know what they do. I don't know how they are similar and dissimilar. I don't care, you know. And he did a video. It was really cool to watch because he mixed some colors up, and he's
cool.
you know, he's very good. He and I are not afraid to mix colors, right? So it was really good to watch him go through and mix the colors and say, okay, so you like this yellow or red from GW. Well, here's what you do. You take these two colors from Creature Caster and you go make it happen. So now you can see I'm taking this brown and I'm thinning it way down too. And I can put it over there and you can see that kind of orangey color that we're going to get out of this. And I'm going to put a layer on. Now notice our transparent is already dry. So it's not like a wash, where a wash would need a lot of time to dry. We're just going to go over this with this very thin brown to start with. And I'm just going to play with it. I'm going to see how much we need to go. Rather than going with one thick coat first, just going to kind of look at it. Unlike glazing, right, we don't have to spend a lot of time working up a bunch of layers to get the color we want. And I can put this on and notice how from side to side, see what it's doing? It's darkening up that red, right? But it's not quite brown enough. But I'm going to go ahead and continue on like this so I don't get out of whack on this side. You can tell I need more brown. Okay. But it's darkening it up, and we're getting a deeper color out of it. Grab my brush, brown down. Now I'm going to do about like that. Now I'm getting more of the transparent brown to read and cover up what's underneath it, right? So like that, you can see how, if I go over one of these light colors, see how brown I am now? That's where we're at. And it's already dry, so I can go layer right back over it. I'm gonna start getting the color I want now.
I believe you said that in the video. Transparents only cost 60% of what the contrast paints do.
Yeah, even less than that.
I feel like you pointed that out in the video.
Yeah, even less than that. So there we go. Now we're starting to get a really good oxblood color, right? That brown is starting to really show through nicely, right? But we got that nice red peeking through. Come back in, kind of, because it's a very nice controllable paint. I can put it exactly where I want it to go, and it doesn't flow out of the boundaries. It's not going to go anywhere I don't want it to. Kind of line some of these areas in a little darker if I want. Come in and kind of dip a little bit more pure brown into these shadows here. Now we've gone from that pinkish leather to a really, really good reddish brown. And that was what? 3 hits with the brush? And we altered that color tremendously. Just look at what we're dealing with between here and there. Right? So our belt and our tunic used to look identical. Now, with one layer of red over the top of our brown, and what, 2, 3 layers of the brown now that I put on here, we've got a perfect color. Exactly what I was looking for. And as it cures, you can see it getting very matte in the middle, that shine where it's still a little wet off on the sides. But all of that detailing that we did, even though it gets knocked down a little bit, right, in value because we put these transparents over the top, we still have all that texturing that we did. And now you can see why we wanted to take that texturing a little bit brighter right out of the gates. And one of the cool things is I can take, because this is an acrylic paint, our transparents, and it's not a, like an ink or a wash, I can take the ivory that we highlighted with initially. Oh, that's too big of a brush. I don't want to do these details with this. And if I want a highlight color, I just mix a little bit of our flesh tone, right, that we had in there. That olive flesh. And I can come back and mix it with the brown transparent paint. If I want to brighten these areas, this kind of starbursty texture around the belt holes, I can very quickly add my highlight color in to the transparent paint and get that highlight. So no more worrying about, okay, I put a wash over it, it darkened my model too much, how do I go back and highlight? Because if I go back with my original highlight color, it doesn't blend with the wash color, right? The wash introduced a whole new color into your paint, and now it's very difficult to take a wash and blend it in with your paints that you were using, right? Here, our transparents are literally just acrylic paints. So I can come in here and I'm taking right now the same olive flesh that we highlighted everything with initially and just blending it in with the transparent. And you notice it's not runny. I can make a, oh, well, it's a light color. Let's see if I can get it on here where you can see. I can get in here and make a very concise line with this paint with the transparent mixed in with it, and it doesn't blur out. It stays exactly the way you want it, like a paint should, right? So I can do all of my hatching, all of my stippling, and be using that transparent as just a color additive at this point, so that I can get back and highlight without having to worry about, oh my God, I don't own a color that matches what the wash did to my base layers. Because you can't ever tell, right? Sometimes you'll get a paint color that when added to a wash, right, doesn't look anything like what you had hoped it would look like. And so what do? You scream and you say, oh my God, that's not right. How do I highlight all this? With ours, you're guaranteed to get the exact color you need and be right on hue, not feel like you just, screwed the pooch by adding that, that red wash on top of your model. Now you don't have a color that you can go back and highlight easily. We can just go back in and kind of liven up some of these stress spots. Try not to go crazy here. You don't need a whole lot going on. And there you go. about them apples? We got a really cool reddish brown belt out of that. Right? That used to look exactly like the brown next to it here. Are we even 60% of the contrast paints? I mean, we're barely $7.50 a bottle if you double our price. So I think we're even cheaper than that. When he said 60%, you know, I was like, I think we're cheaper than that. I think we're half the price. I think they're $7.99 or something like that. Just think of what we could teach if Jen was in a full body cast. We just body cast paint her. Hey, honey, want to go on the roof? This could be fun. Notice how she doesn't answer.
I ignore things I don't like.
Tommy Lee Gunn, what's going on? Hokey doke. So there you go. So hopefully that helps everybody understand, you know, all of the conversational stuff we've been having on how to use the transparents to get, you know, your base layers to take on a whole new look. All of that depth from our texture is still there. We can go and brighten up or darken up whatever we need to, but the color change, that filter, was too easy to put on, right? So it shows you how painting for brightness, which is what we've done on these layers here, right? We just have the scratching and then we get brighter up around the shoulder, and we're gonna do this one next, right? But you can create all sorts of colors. So I'm gonna do this in green, right? So we're gonna take the same brown transparent paint. I'm gonna take one brush load of water into it. Right? We're just gonna paint over everything. Same way we did before, except now we don't have a red base layer. We're just gonna go brown. This will pull all those textures together, give it a really nice, rich, orangish brown color. Our base brown transparent has a really good, warm brown feel to it. Right, that little bit of orange hue to it gives it a real natural look for wood, for leather, for anything you want to do. Flesh, you can use it as a flesh wash. You can imagine with this color that we just popped on there. Right, and see how different it is, the brown from the red with the brown that we just did? That still even gives you nice little micro transitions in color, to where even though we painted these identically, they look very different on the model at the end of the day, which is what we're going for. That way you don't have to, as I've been saying lately, is you don't have to worry about, you know, having 18 different colors of brown. And how am I going to mix those browns to make sure that the boots look different than the belt, looks different than the tunic, looks different than the gloves, you know, looks different than the wood on the bow, you know, because you get a lot of stuff on there and it becomes monotonous, right? We had JC Makes Art yesterday come into the stream during Therapy Thursday, throw up a picture of a really awesome kind of hero rabbit hunter thing that he had painted in maybe a dark sword miniature, can't remember. But he painted this rabbit hunter with a bow, and really, really cool model. And all of his browns tended to kind of work together, right? They just were the same color. So the rabbit's skin versus the shaft of the bow versus the color of the leather cuffs on the arms, all of the browns looked the same because he just had a limited palette of browns, right? So I was like, oh, this is easy to get around. Just take some different colors, blues, reds, blacks, greens, and glaze them over your browns, right? That way all of your browns look a little different, but because they started with the same base color, they all look like they're, you know, similar too. They could all be the same hide, just tanned a little differently, you know? So you can create all sorts of really cool looks without having to try real hard, you know? In the case of what we're talking about, I mean, we literally just paint all the leather exactly the same and then filter some color over the top like what I'm doing right now. Hopefully that term I'm using, filter, makes sense, right? Because we're just like stretching color over the top of these things we've painted. And because it's transparent, or has a high transparency, I guess we can't say glass is transparent, since it is translucent, but we didn't want to call them translucent paints. right? All of your base colors show through, so you can see how hopefully your brains are kind of going wild and you're thinking about all the things you could do to put underneath colors like brown, transparent black, blue. You know, if you have a really good green base coat and then you put blue over the top, what's that going to do? What color are you going to get out of that? And then the fact that you could take that color that you get and blend them like normal paints to make highlights and shades and things like that, it just opens up a whole new world of flexibility to your, paint library without having to add a ton of colors. You don't have to have 180 million colors to do 180 million really cool things with our transparents. Okay, so there you go. So we've already dried up. You can see that red belt and the difference between that and the brown. Just this rich brown that still, again, has all of our textures underneath. But remember how I told you the transparent, when you don't dilute it as much, we didn't dilute the brown as much as we did when going over the red. And by not diluting it much, notice how it pulls all of my texturing, all those loose brush strokes together. So you can't really even tell. I just have good highlighting now and following the texture of the sculpt. But all that detailing is still there. Always be painting. Use the wood recipe. Nice. Nice, right? It's so good. The wood grain comes out so awesome. Yeah, we painted that. Hang on, I'll grab him because I love the model. So we did this barrel the same exact way that we just did the leather on him, except that instead of taking the highlight brown that we used here was the light umber mixed with the olive skin or the olive flesh. On this, we took golden brown, right? So instead of going from light umber to a paler tan, we went from light umber to golden brown to give it a little bit of yellow. And then we just put like full body brown transparent paint over the top of this, right? And you get that amazing wood grain that if you go and watch the video where we were painting this, we painted it live on stream, but we ported it over to YouTube. Go watch the video. I was literally slapping paint on this thing. Like I was like, okay, and here we go. I'm just highlighting and I'm just keeping brighter colors on the top and darker colors down below and making sure I do all the right things. And we get this awesome brown out of it that you can see has some reddish to it and that golden coming through. And it's just that one, I think this was one coat of the brown over the top. I think we did 2 coats on the sides to make the sides look a little darker. But yeah, I mean, just super, super quick. And it doesn't look like a wash. You don't have a weird pooling of color. You don't have a sporadic kind of cloudiness to it. It looks like a material you would see in the real world. Right? It doesn't, have a weird sheen to it. It just is a great tool.
Is that a guy getting smashed
really thin down on the metal. What's that?
Is that barrel rolling over a guy? And
yeah,
he's
there's a
smashed
guy that
underneath?
got flattened by the barrel rolling over him. Yeah. Even though this guy running would mean that the barrel is going this direction, right? Which means he'd be going backwards. So bad on the sculptor for not understanding physics. But other than that, it's great. It's a great model. It's a fun kind of limited. It's a limited model that only comes out at cons that replaces one of the I forget what they're called, Trollkin Raiders, Northkin Raiders. Yeah, not a special character or anything. He's just a pig running on a barrel of alcohol, holding a firebomb. So that's what trolls are good for. Drinking booze and throwing fire. Tire F and the dollar is skyrocketing. Feel like that's a good thing?
Sounds like it would be
for us.
For us.
Maybe not for everybody else. It makes it to where I see people going, hey, now's a good time to go on a trip. So.
What could I do to this one to make it just a little bit different?
Let me see. I don't know. I don't remember the details on these little guys.
You need to look at one of these too.
So he's got this. If you look at the top of their heads, there's an indentation to where you could actually paint a stripe rather than having this be the jade all the way. You could paint that middle portion that has the indentions along the side.
Yeah.
Pick a color. You could do like maybe the metallic gold or something on it, or red or a white stripe or something. I think that's the easiest thing to do.
Okay.
Right? Or maybe the little thing on the center of his chest. See how he has that little V right there? You can paint that a color.
Oh, yeah. I can make that one like, okay, yeah.
You know? Maybe do both. Maybe do the little V down below and the little stripe on his head, a color that sets him off on the table so you can see it. They made that easy. They gave you something in the sculpt that would help that. All right, so we're going to do some green over the top of this brown now. I think I'm going to grab my custom green-brown mix that we made while doing the King of Ruin and put a little bit of that out on the palette. This is just green-brown and a little bit of black mixed together to give me a color that I have fallen in love with our transparents. If you take a lot of brown and a little bit of green, you'll get this great mossy mud color that is so spectacular for doing what we're doing here, which is, doing that little bit of color shift and tint. I'm going to take, and again, I'm probably going to put about 3 brush loads of water in it, so it's really, really thin. That might be too thin. Yeah, like that. All right. So I'm getting this really, really almost invisible green out of it. And this will help give me a really cool filter over the top of that brown. That again can just shift that color a little in the direction that you want it to go. I may even put some yellow up on top of the shoulder to give it a little bit of that sunny highlight. You guys, once you get your hands on these transparents, if you don't already have them, I think you're going to find that there's so much you can do.
I use transparent purple on these guys.
What's that?
I use the transparent purple on these guys.
Oh yeah? On the bodies?
Yep.
Yeah, they're paints that you can just find yourself working into your normal regimen, unlike washes, because you're like, okay, I know where a wash is used, I know what I need it for, I want it to shade something, or I want it to do a particular job. The transparents, you'll find a bajillion jobs you can do with them, and so you'll find yourself reaching for them to do all sorts of crazy things. Mix them with regular opaque paint colors, because they are just acrylics. I keep saying that. I want to drive that home. They're not contrast paints, they're not washes, they're not inks. So all the trouble that you have when taking any of those specialized kind of effects paints and blending them with other acrylics, because sometimes the medium base is different, sometimes they don't don't react the same way you assume they will. They're harder to thin, they get weird sheen to them. Ours don't. Like, these are literally just paints. Put them on your palette. They have transparency to them, and then start painting with them. Mix them, blend them, airbrush them, brush them, do whatever you want. All right. So that green, that little bit of green, right, darkened it up and gives it kind of a good muddy color. See, our brown is still showing through, all our textures still show through, but we have that little bit of green hitting it. I like that a lot. That's very, very nice. Notice how it's not pooling, it's not running into crevices. It goes exactly where you want it to go, which is one of the best things about it. You can wet blend with this stuff. The only thing you probably can't do with it is dry brush, because of course it's transparent. But I was trying to think of things that I was like, what couldn't you do with this? Like right off the bat that we know about. Dry brushing was the only thing I came up with. I feel like you could probably take just about any other paint technique that you want to do with these and make it work. And you can even dry brush if you just mix, if you're just looking for a color, you mix them with another color that you've got. That would work. Seeing right in here how we're getting that kind of cool green glow, but it hasn't turned the leather green. Like, we didn't make it green. We're just getting a really cool kind of abstract coloring to it all. And now our red leather and our tunic that were identical when we started this whole journey are different enough, right, that we get two totally different feel of leather going on here. And yet kept all our textures. And if you weren't sitting here talking to a room full of people on a stream, you would have had this done about an hour and a half ago. Take a little bit of yellow transparent. And we'll grab this one shoulder with a little bit of yellow just to brighten it up a bit so it feels like he's out in the sun. Another great thing that we've been showing you is that you don't have to, there's no dry time you have to wait for. You can just put these things right over one another on the model. All right, so again, kind of test it out. It's probably a little bright, so I'll put a little more water. There we go. Yeah, like that. Still yellow enough, but not going to overtake what we got going on here too much. So I'll just take this shoulder area and out towards the, kind of away from the shadows. I don't want to throw it into the shadows too much, but out towards the tips of the leather here. Just kind of hit it with that yellow. And because I can just kind of paint with it, I can find those textures again and pull it right into my textures. Put it down here and get that nice kind of glow right on the edge. Right on the tip of these pieces that peek out on the shoulder. That's it. Bingo. Maybe even a little bit right across the top of our red leather here. Lambilio. I'm a fan. Light and passion, what's going on there? Oh, wait a minute, I'm not supposed to talk to you. Jen is out of focus. She probably had her hand really close to the camera.
Huh? Oh.
It happens when
when
you put your camera in, or when you put your hand in field. She was shaking.
I was shaking paint.
Bottles and stuff. Tarnaz, where does one find this bust model? You can get it from Privateer Press. I believe he's available most of the year on privateerpress.com. It's a War Machine Hordes model. It's Borka, the Keg Slayer. He's just one of the warcasters for Trolls. It's a great bust, though. Just his face brings all the attitude into it. The rest of it's kind of irrelevant. It just is his armor, right? But his growl and smirk kind of thing going on is great. The only thing he needs is a cigar and the pinch of his teeth. So I set up his gums earlier with this kind of fire engine red coloring, which is not the way I would paint gums, but I did it so that we could show using like the transparent purple over the gums I want to do. So while we're on this kick of talking about transparents, let's grab some transparent purple. A little bit goes a long way. You'll find when you start using these, you don't have to put a lot on your palette. I need a smaller brush for this, don't I? Let's grab this brush. No, let's grab this brush. purple is very, very high saturation. So you can thin it way, way down and still get a lot of work out of it. Right? So I'm kind of like this with the purple. See where I'm putting it over that yellow? Not very dark at all. About like that. I put it right in the curve of my palette paper, so it's very stubborn. Okay. Again, I'm just gonna kind of like we did with the leather. I'm gonna repaint these teeth.
Light
so
and
I'm not
Fashion,
worried about
so are we.
What's that?
Light and Fashion said, I'm good, except a little low on dark gray blue Pro Acryl. And I said, so are we.
Yeah, so are we. Oh, my tummy's growling.
Mine is too.
Good.
A little hungry.
That's a good sign. That's a good sign. So again, rather than it just kind of pooling, I can brush it on exactly where I want it. I know I sound like a broken record here, but driving home the things you can do. Darkening those up. A little bit of the blue.
Twice in a row I did this.
Do you poke a hole in the top of the paint bottle? No. What'd you do? Put your arm in the paint again? Don't do that. No. No, all of our paints, have got a seal. I don't know that I have any new ones here.
I do.
But when you first get your paint, you'll take the top off, and there will be a safety seal on top, and you'll just peel the seal off.
Like this.
Yeah, there you go. Jen's showing you. Sealed for your freshness, or for its freshness, for your safety.
And this is my upside down label.
Just pull that seal off, and then the bottle works as normal. And I'm going to grab a little bit of blue. That blue to go right over that purple. Oh, sorry. Off there. Zoomed in really far again. Making the mistakes. Right at the same time. Grab a little bit more of the purple. I can get that kind of mottled gum color with it. Just playing around. Have that red peek out from that initial setup that we did. Works a champ. Spot back there between that tooth that I've been just kind of covering that tooth up with color as well. Now while we're working on the teeth, we'll just go ahead and do that. I wanted to change the base tooth color to green. Seems gross, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to grab some camo green. Now this is not transparent paint. We're back to just opaques now. Thinking I want the kind of root meets, or tooth meets gum color to be more of a greenish than a brown. Kind of poke this into that gum area. Care about the rest of the tooth. Cut back in after being a little sloppy on the gums too. Come back in and repaint the teeth. Now I think probably a little, I don't know, the whole goal with this was to go with more of a tan, like actual ivory tooth, rather than, I normally do like a yellow and burnt orange, but that's the skin color, right? So a lot of the colors I would normally do for the base of teeth are in the skin. So that's why I'm basing this in green, and then we'll start going back to the browns. And we'll just start adding ivory to light umber. So I'm using light umber right now. Take just a little bit of that green that I just did. Camo green and light umber mixed together. Teeth aren't huge, so I don't have to worry a whole lot about blending space, but the idea is to just have that camo green right at the gum line for tartar and plaque buildup and all that good stuff. Now we're just back to regular old light umber. but compared to where we started, now we have kind of a gross, sickly kind of green-brown shadow at the gum line, as opposed to just that brown running all the way to the gum line, which would have been fine. I kind of like having a color along the surface of the tooth at the gum that is different, and in most cases a golden brown, yellowy, plaquey color on monsters works really well. Some people like to do like maybe reds, reddish oranges, like if you had like bloody flesh building up in the crevices of your teeth and stuff. That's delicious. Sounds delicious. Grab some ivory, and I'll start mixing ivory in. Got a flesh, just wondering because I got your paints, was unsure about it. The red is by far your favorite. Nice. Yeah, the burnt red, the mahogany burnt red and pyro red are a great trio for doing just about anything you want to do in that world of red. The new expansion set with the burnt orange, taking the burnt orange and mixing it with your red to do that first level of highlight for red is amazing. Just a great, great color combo. Alright, so now we're adding in some ivory into our light umber. Do a little texturing on the teeth here. Even though they're pretty flat surfaces, I'm going to go ahead and kind of add my own flavor. Always want to pull my brush stroke from the darkness to the brightness, and so in this case from the gum to the biting surface of the tooth. Trying hard to keep paint out of the area where the teeth come together, so I get that shade without having to fight for it later on. I don't want to have to pin wash in there if I can avoid it. Bit of color on these teeth that are way in the back. This will be as bright as those go back there. It goes without saying around here, thank you guys and gals so much for the support and trying our products. Even if you only pick up one or two of the paints, give them a go. If you're new here, all the paints that you see us using we make right here in North America. And all with the love of the hobby in mind. We think we've hit a real home run with the way our paints work compared to most of the hobby style acrylics that you're used to using. There we go. We get that kind of transition into that greenish color towards the gum. Now we'll just grab a little bit of the ivory by itself. Maybe not by itself. I don't want it bright ivory yet. We'll only pull the tiniest smidge of brown into it this time. Now we'll just be living right along the front surface of the tooth. And right along that bite. Again, just kind of stippling color when I can. Again, notice I'm not pulling a line horizontally across the surface of the tooth. I'm using the same kind of poke and pull motion that I did with the last color, so I keep that texture going. Right, remember, these teeth are sculpted flat, but I want to give it a little grain. Right. So just these teeny little poking of color along that bite will give you that texture.
Howell family, yes, they are coming very soon.
A little bit along that bottom tooth there. That's probably good. I'll wait before going to pure ivory if I need to. I could go ahead and just show you the difference. Like if we get the front of this tooth is going to have a little bit of a gleam to it no matter what. But you can see the kind of mix that I'm using still allows a small spot for brightness on there as well. And the ivory would be like I'm doing just the smallest hint of color on these chompers.
Thank you for the bits.
Looks pretty good. So we got tooths, gums, green plaque, and neat leather. I like how that yellow, that real thin last minute glaze of the yellow transparent across the top of that red part of the belt across the belly there. Really brought that out. That kind of yellowish glow on the tunic as well. Works pretty good without being too similar to the yellow flesh. You know, I'm always scared to continue using a color that is in the same range as the main. Like if you're doing red skin, then doing a lot of red on the model elsewhere can really unbalance things, right? Sometimes because of temperature, most times because the eye visually just doesn't relate to, okay, what's going on, what's what? You know, if I'm seeing yellow up here, does it pull it too much into the skin, and so on and so forth. So I tend to want to let colors be alone on the materials that they are in most cases. Again, kind of the whole conversation we've been having today, being able to break up your leathers and have different colors represent different types of leather. Like the belt across his chest now visibly looks like it would be a different skin or hide than the tunic or vest brown with that green over the top of it. But we painted them exactly the same. If we could go back in time and show people that are just showing up, this belt and this looked identical when we started today. And just by using the transparents and filtering these colors over them, we get them to change dramatically, but still get all of the texturing that you see we've painted on the belt and so on and so forth. So coming along, he's looking pretty decent. I really love this skin.
Your skin's really good.
You need paint racks, so you'll be forced to make your own. They're almost here. And I literally, I think, cinched the deal today for domestic-based paint rack manufacturing again. If you remember, when we first started making the paint racks, we made them locally. And we went through 2 local manufacturers. and they couldn't keep up with quality. Well, Luke, rest in peace. Unfortunately, Luke passed on.
That's not why we stopped using
That's not why we
them.
stopped using Luke. Luke just couldn't keep up with the amount of racks that we needed produced. He was a very small manufacturing house, and he had his own business doing his cuts. So he was black sheep, and he made terrain for Infinity. And he couldn't keep up with our orders, right? We would order, and he just couldn't get them done. So it was a bad scene. The other local guy could make what we needed, but couldn't make it in a quality that was sellable. Like, we'd throw away half of what he gave us, and we still had to pay for it. So I was like, no, I'm not paying you anymore. It's horrible. So there you go. The woes of manufacturing, right?
I got those guys.
How well does the transparent yellow show? It shows really well. It depends, like anything, it depends on how you use it, right? Like we just put the smallest amount, right, on the top of this belt here, right? And you can see just that little bit of yellow glow across the top of the red of the belt, right? And we added it onto the shoulder there on top. Again, very, very thin to the top of this, just to give it kind of a sunny glow on the top of the leather. We didn't put any down here. You've got this kind of greenish brown transparent that we put over the leather colors, and then just a little bit of the yellow there. But notice how it doesn't stain. You can't see where it starts or stops. It just gives a nice glow. Right? So unlike an ink that is going to stain pretty easily, you know, you can use it and do all sorts of crazy things. I can show you. Let's just grab a test model, right? I've got all sorts of our testing models that we've been using to show off the transparents here. And we'll just throw some yellow on one of them. There's a red one over here, if I remember right. There is. Got a ton of these dudes that we've used for various things. This one was great. We just shot the yellow through the airbrush. Or maybe, I think we did this with the airbrush? Yeah. To show how to do like a quick glow effect, right? We used the brush and we painted the green transparent on over just a pre-highlighted model, and then we shot some of the yellow through the airbrush just to give it, you know, this really cool lighting effect.
That's really cool.
Right? So this crazy lime green that you get from that green base and then the yellow over the top, but it gives it a really cool OSL kind of spotlight effect. So that was with no thinning, right? So right out of the bottle, it's still transparent, but it gives a real vibrant color. If we were to take, let's do the same thing with this one, like this green wash statue here, or maybe, what other one do we have? The purple one, maybe? Since we already have the green, let's do the purple. So with all of these, they all started out like this, right? They're just pre-highlighted models. So they just are black primer and then a spritz of white paint over the top to give them some value and shading. And then we've used the transparent over the top of them to show you how it'll alter that base coat. But if I just take some yellow, oh, I still have some. I'll just put a brush load of water in it to loosen it up on the palette, and it's this kind of consistency now. See this? Goes over that green. Then we'll just take it and do the same thing. We'll just kind of put like a sunny glow on the top of the purple head here, right? You can see how you can, how well that shows just right off the bat. I just kind of use this brush stroke to again, this is without any thinning other than the just enough water on the brush to get it to flow.
See, that shows up pretty well.
Yeah. Like I said, we've been talking about it all day. Notice how it's not like a wash. I can actually blend and feather that transparent onto that shield so I don't get coffee staining. I can go in and move it around like a real paint. It doesn't pool or puddle or, you know, cause any weird textures or anything like that. I don't know if you'd ever put yellow over purple. This was just a good way to show, you know, very
How
quickly
well it shows up, yeah.
how well it shows up over a color that you wouldn't normally assume yellow would not, you know, number one, work as a transparent over the top of, you know, but that's off the brush too, you know, so that's just a really quick way to show that it does have a lot of value. And you know, if you do it, I mean, if I just take it straight out of the bottle, don't use any water, it's a very, very vibrant. All of our transparents are very, very vibrant paints. Right? They're bright, they have a lot of pigmentation, and still maintain that transparency. So they're not opaque first and then transparent later. Here's no additional water on the brush. You can see the paint there, right? And over the top of the orange, even how it warms that orange up instantaneously. So if you want to put it over a similar hue, you can imagine like painting a yellow, and if your yellow was just a little dull, you know, because you're using a yellow opaque paint that was a little thin or something, you can come back with this yellow over the top of that and just brighten it up tremendously right out of the gates, but still allow all of the texture underneath to show through. I think this one we actually like wiped off, like we cleaned that. Yeah, all the transparents kind of operate the same way. Some are more heavy on the saturation than others. Green being, I think, probably the most high saturation. So if you're going to mix anything with green, use very little green and a lot of whatever else you're using. Yeah, we can. I mean, I can have fun with them all day. Take some of the orange. Haven't have a light brown model to put yellow on? No. I don't think we've used the brown on any of these. Do I have like a test model maybe? I have a Space Marine. This guy. Like a light brown like this. You want to see it like on the shoulder pad and see what yellow does? Tell me quick, because I'm about to do it. You're gonna get it anyway.
Yes.
All right. We put 2 brush loads of water in it, so it's not super vibrant right out of the top. So again, you know, like compared to what we did the first time, it's like this. So just a little thinner. And over this kind of tannish color here.
Oh yeah, that looks good.
Ooh, that's nice.
It is nice. Yep, a nice rich yellow. That's what he said. He said, I imagine a nice rich yellow.
Wow, that's really neat. That's just over a very quick airbrush fade on that shoulder pad too, right? That's actually really, really cool.
That looks great.
I could get with that, man.
Yeah.
Just paint your models tan. Paint your Imperial Fist tan, and then put this over the top of that, right? That's bitchin'. That's a really cool golden brown. Another layer of yellow over the top of that would start to brighten it up even more. Right? I like that. See just one layer of the difference side to side there. Right? We can do a second coat. You don't have to wait very long, right? Unlike a wash, this stuff is dry pretty much instantaneously. Check that out. There you go.
That's so good.
There you go. Painting yellow just got a billion times easier than it's ever been in the past, right? How about them apples? That's a bitchin' yellow right there. Get a little bit of that orangey, right? And then in the shadow where you had that brown, look at that kind of rich orange pulling out of that brown. That's really, really good. Look at you guys asking for cool stuff, right? Yeah, right. Yeah, this yellow is awesome. This is it. Like I just created a monster here. This guy was just the light umber and then ivory mixed in, right? And painted real quick, and now taking the yellow transparent over the top. And the yellow, you can see how the yellow transparent, unlike an ink over the top of this, it doesn't coffee stain. It doesn't give you any hard edges, right? So really, really simple to work with. You don't have to be fearful of it. And you can layer it right over itself pretty quick too, and just get an amazing yellow off of that. That's awesome. Very even, consistent. No texture, no brush marks. Our paint is magic. That's really good. I'm glad you asked about that. That's a really good thing right there. Yellow
great.
Space Marines made easy. Just paint them brown and up to ivory first, like that leg, and smack yellow on them. Done deal. Done deal. Yeah, Doka, that first layer was almost like a gold, right? Like you could get away with like a non-metallic gold coloring with that first layer that we put on. As you build up more yellow, you can still do it, but you know, that's really, really good. Me likey.
Mm-hmm.
Good choice. Good choice. I'll have to keep him on the rack now so I can show people that. I blame you guys coming up with cool ideas. Haven't I been saying this since we started with the transparents, that I'm excited to see what everybody tries?
Definitely.
These paints are literally a fun thing, right? It's not just fun because it's making your models look cool. It's fun because you can play with them. You can put them on the palette and just try stuff. Just be like, I wonder what, and put it on there and stuff like that. You could knock it out of the park and be like, okay, my yellow's just, I can throw away all my yellow paint. I can just paint tan and yellow transparent over the top and bingo, and never have to worry about it again, right? And I'm still finding it out with you because I can't possibly have done everything with all of these colors that you can imagine. And, you know, over blue, over purple, over green, we did the yellow over our metallic, right? And got this really cool, weird, metallic-y.
Is that over the metallic medium?
This is over the metallic medium, the bright medium.
Part
or no,
of
actually, this was, I'm sorry,
silver.
this was dark silver, and then the metallic medium. I painted it and highlighted it so it had some darkness and transition to it, and then we came back and added the yellow just over the top real quick with a brush, right? Again, for no intended purpose to have this look this way, just to see what the transparents look like over metallic paints, and they're amazing.
It looks like foil. It looks like green foil or something.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, you can get some really, really cool effects over metallics. You know, we've done, like on our barrel guy where we did the wood, you can see the little tinge of blue there. That's the blue transparent thinned way, way down and just put over the top of the silver paint, right? So you can see how sometimes you don't see it at all, and then in the right light, just like metal works, right? You get that, oh my God, that's got to be made out of metal feel to it, right? Just that slight bluing. So you can knock them down to where they're almost non-existent, like literally almost just pure water, and yet still get really, really cool effects out of them like this on your metals. Right? And this was not paying a whole lot. This is just putting it on there. Because it's so thin, you're just like, okay, boom, done. You know, so they give you all sorts of things you can do. Very, very subtle effects to very, very vivid effects, like, you know, airbrushing it to get some OSL. Derry, thank you for that host. You know, doing something like this where you want to do an OSL effect, and so just loading it up in the airbrush and spraying your model with it after you've base coated it, and you get this cool kind of spotlight effect. You know, we did the same thing with this guy, right? This model is literally, I think, 2 coats of orange over a black model, right, that was highlighted with white, right? 2 coats of orange, and then we went back and we shot some green on it from below, right? When we were playing with how the green would look. So you see a green glow to him from below, right? But look at that. Yeah. Look at the way the orange effect is. This was just a pre-highlighted model. This model looked like this initially, right? It was just a black primered model with a spritz of white as a highlight over the top. No fuss, no mess. Not a lot of time spent with it. You can see we only shot the white on it from one direction, right? Because it's all bright from this way, and then from this way it's completely just the black coat. But you see how the orange over the black gave us this really deep brown, and then you get this glow as you start coming around into the lit areas where the white was, until eventually where you had that pure white, you get this almost yellow orange. This is literally one pass with the orange transparent through the airbrush on this model. And you get such a really cool effect out of it that if you were doing an army really quick, like Space Marines or something, there wouldn't be a whole lot of detailing that you'd need. Come back and paint the hoses black and the guns black and stuff like that, and you could blow through an army in no time, right? We've done so much fun stuff. This model was bright purple, and we sprayed the red transparent over the purple and got this really amazing kind of iridescent reddish color on him. People called me insane because we spent a lot of time on that model painting the purple. I don't care, man. It's all for science, whatever. Let's take Colot's Primark and spray it with transparent paint. Claude's probably in here. He's like, wait,
Yeah.
no. Jack, Just Frost, thank you.
Big Bobby Bobberts.
That's a great name. What's happening? Thank you for the follow. Yeah, we've been seeing people use them in all sorts of ways, using, along with or to make their own version of, like color shift paints. We showed how you can do the black transparent and mix it with some blue to create black armor, right? So this was more of a traditional paint method, just using the transparents to, create colors to give the illusion of black armor. So we just threw this together real quick. You can do anything with them, right? The wood effects we've been doing, the leather effects that we've been doing. I think you'll find that, they'll become go-to paints, even though the things you do with them are not the same every time, right? You'll pull brown transparent and do a million different things with it. I love having these little test models.
I know.
They're just, yeah, they're very handy for when people ask questions, and I can say, here's a model that nobody cares about, and we'll just do it. The stuff that we've done today with creating the kind of reddish brown beat up leather on this guy, along with the darker brown and the green and yellow on the vest part, gives us the ability to do so much really cool stuff and not have to think about painting them completely different. We painted them exactly the same and then just filtered those colors over the top of them. Easy. A little bit of purple and blue that we filtered over the gums, gave us a really good gum color. But again, let us just paint the gums red, right? Dark red, bright red, and then put the purple and the blue to flavor to get the color that you really wanted, rather than spending a lot of time mixing on the palette. Have fun on the model. Right. That's the real motto of the paints, I think, is spend more time on the model, less time on the palette. You should shoot the yellow over the green and make it a lime green armor. No. Pink Vulcan, that was your gig, but that's not going to happen. Put the yellow over the green and make it a brighter green. Yeah. Well, one of the things that we probably plan to do with the Vulcan is to use the yellow and maybe mix it with the green transparent and do a little bit of highlight on the tops of the arms with it. I can see doing that for sure. You want a tutorial video about the new paints? See, pure imagination from Willy Wonka. Come with me and you'll see something.
And you'll be in a world of pure imagination.
Oh, whatever.
That's fine.
I just want a chocolate river, but it has to be dark chocolate. See, everything in Willy Wonka was milk chocolate. No, not so much.
Not the right kind of chocolate.
Not the right kind of chocolate. Too much ingredients. Supposed to be pink. No, he's not. Like, he's just not. He's not supposed to be pink. That's not a thing. That is not a thing. I love those dyes. What do you wind up doing in the middle? Like silver?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. I love these little guys. I love the purple. Right? Look at her purple. I don't know why, but I'm really loving purple lately. So. Oh, you started highlighting the...
Yeah, I'm not doing metallic on those.
You're not? You're just going to highlight? I like it. I highlight up to jade.
I'm just leaving it like, yeah.
Wait a minute. That's not how that works.
It is for me.
It is for me. She's like, she tried her hand at the metallic jade on the big guy, and she's knocking it out of the park, but she's learning very quickly that why we don't do that on whole armies. She's like, I get it now. I love it. You start to find out, right? There's a lot of psychological aspects to painting, right? It's like, wow, that looks really cool, but not cool enough to do on 100 models. You start to see why people paint like the centerpiece of their model really, really well, and then the other dudes, not so much.
I like just a one pretty model that's just for pretty.
Yeah. Like display.
Yeah.
Dark chocolate is only chocolate. Yes, white chocolate is a lie. Yeah. Milk chocolate is a distant second place. Like very, very distant second place. It's dark chocolate. Always has been, right? You might not know it yet. You might still be doing the milk chocolate thing. That's fine. You do you.
You'll get there someday.
But yeah, you'll get there someday. I think right now I'm going to put, just because we got a little bit of time, I'm going to take some of the transparent black. Pow. And I'm going to put it over the black brown here to give me a deep base, because the fur around his neck is going to be black-ish. because we got a couple more minutes before we got to get out of here, I'll do this while Jen figures out what's for dinner.
What's for dinner?
You and Jen, you guys, chat, and Jen figure out what's for dinner.
Don't say cheesesteaks.
They will. You know this. You know
I guess
that
I could
that's
get
one of the
Chipotle.
first things coming
Ike's.
out.
We had Ike's like 2 days ago.
Oh, Ike's is good. But we did. And you know what I found at Ike's? Our Ike's doesn't have it on the menu, but the IHOP.
It's called the IHOP.
It's called the IHOP.
Don't know why it's called the IHOP.
Yeah,
We
me
had
neither.
bison last
It makes
night,
it seem
but
like it
not
should be like
not
a pancake
bowls.
sandwich.
We had bison shepherd's pie.
Oh my God, it's so good. Jen is the
or
queen.
cottage pie. That's closer because whatever.
Jen is the
But we
queen
had that made
of
with bison.
awesome bowl dinners.
I feel like it might be a little too late for Thai. It could make for some crazy dreams.
Spicy.
Yeah. Yeah, milk chocolate with peanuts is actually not bad. I can agree with you there.
So like
Doka.
peanut M&Ms are okay, but they make dark chocolate peanut M&Ms. So why would you ever? That's my question. Why would you ever?
Is that place still there?
What?
Shabu Fondue. In Chandler? Doka? Is that the one you're talking about? I've never been there. Over by the mall. Tacos every day. We had tacos yesterday for lunch.
Yeah, tacos are easy. Right, that's always an easy answer. Tacos, pizza. Right, as you can see, the black, transparent. Again, doing the work that you would expect it to.
Ice cream donuts. We need real food.
Yeah, it has to be something substantial without all that sugar for dinner, please. Try not to kill me. I'd like to be here next week. The older I get, the less I'm inclined toward. I have a sweet tooth that busts out, and I need like a handful of, chocolate chips or something.
Lost Dice blog. Thank you.
Lost Dice, what is going on? Welcome, welcome. You can see the black transparent does exactly as advertised. It's really a good way to, again, filter, but get an instant darkness. You can, thin this. I'm running it just with a brush load of water.
And you're super zoomed in, so we're not getting anything really.
Oh, sorry. Well, yeah, I'm just bad. I'm a bad host.
What's on his chin? Has he got
Rocks.
Stuff? Oh, like rocks stuck in his, like he fell down?
No, they grow out of them.
Oh, okay. Oh, Chino Bandito. That's a little too far, but yes.
Be so good.
So good. We should go there this weekend. Peruvian or Chilean food?
I'm trying to think. I'm sure we have a really good, probably more of a combo South American, like deep South American place here. I wouldn't know offhand what or where that is, to be honest with you. I don't think we've ever gone. We had the place that we went for pupusas.
Yeah.
And then
Which
they
is right
closed.
down the street from our house.
And then they turned into a
And
burger.
now
joint.
it's, yeah, and it's been open for a long time, but you never see anyone there. I don't know how they do that.
So you can see just the black, right? You can still register all the brown, but you can notice that the shade is taking it down without overtaking it, right? Again, our transparents are not traditional washes. You can make them into washes, right? We've shown how to do that, but they are filters, right? They are paints that go over the top of other colors to alter them in ways however you want, right? You want to brighten them up, put some yellow on it, right? Want to change the color, pick a different hue. Want to darken them up like I'm doing here, put black.
So John Patrick said, rule is if you can't decide what to eat, the answer is pizza. We would be eating pizza every day.
Every day. We'll get really, really old. We're not good at this game. As you can imagine, most people aren't.
Asian and Italian, a combo Asian Italian place. Interesting. There's a lot of those noodle places, like noodle cafes, popping up everywhere. And I think they do. They have like Asian noodles and Italian noodles.
Oh, do they?
Yeah.
You can get like spaghetti.
Just get noodles, yeah.
Yeah, Friday's an insulate. I'd be down for
I know.
like Italian food. I
Yeah.
could go for a good
Or
plate of
steak,
pasta.
yeah. Or, yeah, all these delicious things. You have to remember, you guys, it's 8 o'clock. And it's late.
I stay up later than she does, but she
Yeah.
goes to bed here in a couple hours. So her
That's too
digestion
much.
and her sleep would not be fun if we went and did big, huge meal.
Yeah. Although, I mean, I maybe we should try it because I know that like after I eat a big meal, I'm always tired. But no,
Well, let's go to oregano.
I just don't think that I would feel. No,
No oreganos?
no. I think it would be one of those I would sleep for 2 hours and be wide awake. Half off apps at Applebee's. I don't even know that there is an Applebee's nearby.
Yeah, there is really close, actually.
Oh,
Camelback.
that's
and-
Appleback. That's right, on Camelback and Central. Yeah. We are definitely in the land of very few chain restaurants. Like
Yeah.
in our general area, not a lot of chains.
We're blessed with awesome
really
little
are.
mom and pop, one-off kind of places that we love here in Central Phoenix. But it almost makes it harder to decide what you want in some cases.
Miracle Mile is, well, I mean, it might not be open like the hours of the day may have caused it to close, but the place still exists and it is very close.
That's the deli, right?
That's the deli, yeah. Yeah, they close super early.
He's
like
not
on,
a fan of that
I don't
place.
love it. It's everything that I get is super bland. He likes just their BLT, which, you know, BLTs are great, but everything else there is kind of bland.
It's not super flavorful.
Yeah.
I feel like it's made
It's
for
meant
old
for
retirees.
older people. Yeah, there's, you
Old
know.
retirees.
Yeah,
It's a
'cause that's
traditional kind of
all
like
I
New
ever
York
see
deli.
there.
you
Every
know.
time we go there, it's
Lots
just
of old folks.
lot
And
of-
so there's
lot
not a lot
older
of spice in
folks.
their cooking. And
Yeah.
So it doesn't have a ton of flavor, but their BLT is to die for. I love it. You'd think it'd be, well, isn't it hard to mess up a BLT? Oh, no. No. No, it's very easy to deliver a subpar BLT.
The Cracker Barrel of delis. Yeah.
Right, you can see the amount of contrast we're getting just by adding the black over the brown. Now, see how the red leather and the brown leather pop out now that we don't have that black brown right next to them? Right, now we really get three completely different colors and it starts to really do what we want.
Every time you say red leather, I want to say yellow leather.
You want to say what?
Yellow leather.
Why?
Did you ever do that? Like, were you never in like drama?
Red
or,
leather, yellow
Yeah,
leather.
it's a warm-up.
Oh, because it's an
It's a vocal
enunciation
warm-up,
thing?
yeah.
It's a,
like to help you. Yep.
nope, I
Warm
never
up
took
your
those
lips.
things.
And your tongue.
I wasn't in band or any participatory things in school other than sports. I did yearbook that year because I had nothing better to do, and they wanted me to draw the cartoons for the paper, and that was all tied together.
Yeah.
I think I'm just going to kind of feather this out as we get to the top of his shoulders, because it'll leave more of the brown showing through as I do the other colors up top. It'll give the fur kind of pelt a color change, right? So it'll kind of go from this dark back into the brown on the shoulders where it's not really messing with anything else. See, like that? And I can just kind of flick, because there's so much texture here, I can just kind of flick the black in and it'll look like it's blended in.
We use this, Big Bobby Bobberts.
What's that? Is he asking how to clean brushes?
How do you care for your brushes when you're done to ensure
Jen makes the most
longevity?
amazing brush soap, conditioner, cleaner, reshaper on the planet. So forget what you heard.
Get
and
yourself some of that.
Buy some Drunken Brush Goop. We've been making it for years. It's made right here in our, well, it's made right here in this office.
It's right. It's
by
made
that
right
woman
over
right
there.
She invented it because we had been using Masters Cleaner for years,
In
and it
fact.
just doesn't do what you need it to do to take care of brushes that use acrylic all the time. It's a great brush cleaner,
I'll just show you.
but it doesn't condition, doesn't really do anything long term for your bristles. It does the opposite. It has a lot of abrasives in it that wind up hurting your brush long term.
So, Big Bobby, I painted these guys, I don't know if you can see them anymore, these little purple dealies. That's what I was painting today. So, I just wet my brush, and I'm going to scoop a little bit out, and then I'm just going to agitate it in my hand. you can start to see the blue coming out. Ooh, the light, there we go, you can see the blue. And then you just keep repeating until you don't see any. If you want to just do like if I were just going to do a quick clean, I would probably be done right now and just let it go. But if I want to get it to where there's no paint coming out, then I'll just repeat. And you want to do it in your hand, not in the tin, because this is, well, it's soap. And so like if you leave a bar of soap sitting in a bunch of water, it gets gooey. That'll happen to this too.
Yeah, if you've been used to using like Masters, a lot of times it turns into like a toilet cake. And so you feel like you got to put water in the container. Don't do that with ours.
Mad Clover Minis said, my goop is not so goopy. It's kind of rock hard. Think it got melty in the mail. Is there anything I can do to save it? It's actually not super goopy. Like this is pretty solid. It's more like a paste, but it's like if I push my hand in there, it's not really doing anything. So it will be kind of solid. It should be fine because what you're going to do is just take the ferrule anyway and you're going to shave a little bit off into your hand. And then the last thing that you'll do.
Did you tell them how to refresh their soap if it
I don't
melted?
know how to, like, how do you heat it up? How do you melt it again?
Just heat it. I mean, if you
You
feel
can't
like
put it in the microwave.
can't put it in the microwave, you can. It's summertime.
set it
right?
on a windowsill.
Set it on a windowsill.
Yeah.
Let it get moist again. Stir it up with a toothpick or whatever you want. You know,
Use the end of your
stir it up in the
paintbrush.
can and then put it someplace to cool. Don't put it in the fridge.
Yeah,
just put
just
it
like
at room
room
temperature
temperature.
and let it cool back down. So yeah, we've had lots of people that if it gets shipped in the summer, because it's so hot here, we put in the little ice packs as we ship them in the summer. But if it's hot where you're at too and it sits all day on your porch,
It'll melt.
then it'll separate. The oils will start separating out because it's an all natural soap. Just stir it all back up and then set it aside to cool at room temperature back to normal. It may dry a little bit harder than it would have come to you normally because we have another process after we mix it all together where we grind it all up and then we paste it all back together so it gives you that kind of clay feel, but it's still just as good as anything.
It still works, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, so yeah.
Nothing will change the
Yeah.
way the soap conditions, cleans, reshapes, or any of that. It might just change the consistency if it did melt, but you're fine to go.
Yeah.
You're
And
in
then-
Southern Arizona, yeah. So just
yeah.
do that. Just warm it back up and then set it. Just don't put it in the fridge because that will guarantee it gets really rock hard. Just leave it out in the normal, in your house, outside of where sunlight isn't hitting it, and let it congeal back up. It'll be fine.
But so, Big Bobby, this is a synthetic brush, like pure synthetic. So it's a little bit stained from the paint, but look at the point. Like, and I've been using this brush, I mean,
Forever.
for months. I've painted like this whole guy with it. I painted this whole beholder with it. I painted all of these. I think I even did her, like, with all of that, just with this brush, and it still has a really good point.
She's much better at cleaning her brushes than I am.
Well, because I wanted to make sure that I could say that
I
it
don't.
works, and if you, like, with proper care, even a synthetic brush will last for a long time.
Yeah.
Without
it
curling on the, like, tip curl and stuff like that.
Yeah, it'll extend the life of any brush.
So, 2 sizes. This is the big one.
Even
It'll
though it
last
says
forever.
430, Drac? What the? All right, gang, that's it for us. It's 8. She actually cares about her product. We care about the
I
product.
care about my product.
I
My
just
name's
paint a
on it.
lot.
My name's on it.
I just paint a lot, and so
I want to make sure people know that it works.
as much as I wish that I could take care of all my brushes and I tell you guys to do so, I'm horrible at it. I'm literally. I still have the brushes that painted the Dracon though, and I still use them. They've been kind of relegated to wash brushes, but I could probably clean them up. The only problem is that we did so much stippling on the Dracon that at some point in time, when you do a lot of stippling with a large round brush, the tip doesn't just get a curl to it, it flares because you're banging it against the model so much. And we did a ton of stippling at the end of the Dracon. And so I have my number 6, my number 4, and my number 2 from that model as I was doing various stippling effects on the skin and the metals and everything else that now are just flared. And so they become wash brushes. You know, at some point in time, you know that you relegate them beyond, but they did hundreds of hours of work, you know, before they became that way. So very good. Yeah, right? If you use the goop regularly, especially with the sables, you could get brushes that last you forever.
Definitely.
For sure.
It'll definitely help because it's got conditioner in it, so it's really going to help the sables.
That's the one thing that's missing in all of them is that, you know, you can make a soap that cleans really well, and a lot of the products work with Masters works well at cleaning your brushes. The Winsor Newton is probably the best cleaner on the planet, but it's so, it's like using a solvent. It strips all of the lubrication off of the bristles on a sable brush to where now they might as well be synthetic, and the only time they'll hold a point is when they're wet. Like they just won't do it anymore because they just want to frizz out like your hair does. You know, remember that natural hair brushes are just like the hair on your head. If you don't condition it properly, then it won't work well for a long time. It'll start to break and you'll get split ends. The sable won't get split ends, but it will break, and that's why you'll get those short hairs on the side of your brush that kind of stick off weird. You're like, why would they be that short? It's because they broke in half because they lose the conditioning. And so our soap, using the soap all the time, helps keep them soft, helps keep them steady, you know, holding a point and last a lot longer. So do it.
Creaturecaster.com.
Do it. Exclamation point store in chat if you want to do that. Decided to change your Gorgadra skin. You left his belly the color you saw with like the human skin tone. I like that, Doka. Nice. Very cool. Yeah, I liked what I saw.
Yeah, it looked.
I was interesting
really
to
cool.
see like what you were going to do with it. All right, gang, we're out of here. I need to be fed.
Me too.
I need to shove food in my mouth hole. So thank you guys so much for hanging out with us. Hopefully we taught you some stuff. We showed you some really cool effects you can do and went through the process of the leathers again. Not only how to use the transparents, but just also what I do to get, you know, leather textures, you know, and be able to get depth and make it feel like, you know, it's you know, leather, right? So you get all that kind of variance and highlighting and texture and stippling and all of that, so you can get a good looking material rather than just painting color on it. Because remember, a lot of times what sells a thing is the texture that makes it look like a material that your brain is familiar with. So just some cool stuff there. And then, of course, the transparents to get the colors that we wanted to get that differentiation. All of these three things started off the exact same color tonight. They were all dark black brown, right? The leather strap in the front, the fur, and the leather tunic. And with a little bit of brown and green on this one, it changed completely, and with a little bit of red and then brown over the red on the transparency of that. And then, of course, the black transparent, we've just now gone to shove some contrast onto that. But all in all, looking really good. I love this model. He's a lot of fun to paint. Eventually, we'll get him done. So thanks for hanging with us. Have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. We'll catch you on the flip side on Tuesday when we're back at 2 p.m. Pacific for our 2-hour Tuesday normal show. And, yeah, that's it. I think. I mean, remember, we hope to have good news on the bags next week, but you got to tune in to find out, because I don't know what day, but we're going to promise that we announce it on stream before we announce it live to the public that they're on sale, so that you guys get the first joint and jump on the custom colors for the bags. But you got to be here to figure it out, because I can't promise you what day it's going to happen. Either Tuesday, Thursday, or Friday. So we'll see. All right. So thanks so much, guys. Have a great weekend. Don't do anything we wouldn't do. Love your faces. We'll catch you on the flip side. Adios. I'm out. Are you out?
I'm out.
Okay, we're out.